Welcome to No Direction, the Pathfinder News, Reviews, and Interviews podcast. I'm Ryan Costello.
I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perrin.
Lone Wolf Development, makers of your favorite digital character sheet and ours, Hero Lab. They recently released the Adventure Path packages. They've added it to their Pathfinder licensed products, starting with, naturally, Rise of the Runelords. And here to tell us all about it is Lone Wolf's Colen McAlister. Welcome back, Colen.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you guys' evenings going?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. Fine.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. So far, so good. I had sushi today. All is good. Now, for anyone that doesn't remember you from the last time you were on, Colen, who are you?
So I'm a lead developer of Hero Lab for Lone Wolf Development. Hero Lab is a Pathfinder character creation and management tool for Windows, Mac, and now recently the iPad. We let you build characters, evolve them through play, advance them at the end of the game, and for GMs you can build encounters, customize NPCs. We try to take all of the nitpicking mathy stuff off your hands so that you can have fun, make interesting choices, but then not have to worry about adding the numbers up.
Why are you taking the math away from me, Colen?
Math is too powerful for mere mortals such as ourselves, Ryan.
All right, fair. I guess I can focus on motivations and storylines and action.
You say that till the singularity and these computers take over GMing.
Now, what about the Rise of the Runelords package? What's that all about?
So I'm hopefully everyone's familiar with the with Rise of the Runelords. It's the first adventure path that Paizo put out. The adventure paths are 6 issues, each of those, and together that's a complete campaign that it'll take your character take your party from level 1 up to like level 16, 17, 18. So it's a complete campaign for your gaming group that you can run. What we're now selling in Hero Lab is you can get. Previously, we've included all of the player content for Adventure Paths for free. So if you've been players who are playing Rise of the Runelords, they can use all of the campaign traits from the Adventure Path, any items that they find from the Adventure Path. But we haven't had great support for GMs yet. With this new package, what you can do as a GM is we show a simple list of all the encounters in the Adventure Path, and with just a couple clicks of the mouse, you can start running any of those encounters in Hero Lab. We include all of the stats, all of the special ability descriptions, all of the details that you need to run that encounter effectively, and that means that it's going to be quicker at the game table. You don't have to potentially be looking through multiple different books during a combat. Hero Lab can take care of all of that for you.
And of course, Param and I got to play around with the Rise of the Runelords package for Hero Lab. Before my Rise of the Runelords campaign, Param from his experience with Rise of the Runelords. So a lot of our questions are going to be informed and based on our experiences with that. But before that, there's now multiple versions of Rise of the Runelords. It was originally published as 3.5. Now it's out as an anniversary edition under Pathfinder rules. It's been updated. So what version is the Rise of the Runelords package?
We support the anniversary edition, so the latest, the big hardback that Paizo updated for Pathfinder, and not the old 3.5 version.
Okay, and if somebody was using the original one, they're out of luck. We've moved on.
So they could conceivably just grab the Pathfinder version and just customize anything that they didn't like. That might get a little tricky in later encounters, though, because I believe that the power curve in Pathfinder is a bit higher than it is in 3.5. So it's doable, but it'd be some work.
Yeah, when we actually did the transition from one to the other when the anniversary came out, like they played through the first half of the campaign using the original books, and the anniversary edition came out, and we finished up using that. And it was a notable power speed bump when they were going from pretty much like wiping the floor with everybody, all these ogres and giants, and then, oh, holy crap.
Yeah, it sounds like it's maybe not a good fit for the 3.5 then. We've built it for Pathfinder in the updated version, and not the old 3.5 rule set.
That's fair. I think most people have moved on to the Pathfinder version. I mean, I don't know a lot of people that are still playing 3.5, and I used to have a podcast specifically for those people. The audience is gone, so that was more to clarify. I'm not judging you for leaving those people in the shadows, crying, neglected. What have you done, Colen?
Soon our plan to demoralize them will be complete. We can move everybody into the light that is the Pathfinder role-playing game.
But now you've supported 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, imagine I am a Hero Lab rookie. I've got nothing but the basic Pathfinder package, whereas Param is like an old Hero Lab hand. He has all of the Pathfinder packages. If we're both running Rise of the Runelords, how will our experiences be different?
So the really nice thing about the new Rise of the Runelords package that we just released is that it includes everything a GM needs to actually run the encounters. When we were originally kind of brainstorming, prototyping this feature, we took a look through a few of the chapters of Iron Gods, of Rise of the Runelords, of Giant Slayer, and one of the things that we noticed was that there's a lot of supplemental material that's used there. And so previously, if you'd want to build stuff in Hero Lab, I counted for Iron Gods, for example, I counted the fact that there were like 13 different books used in one issue of the Adventure Path. And one of the really nice things about the Rise of the Runelords package and future Adventure Path packages that we'll be doing is that we'll be including all of that content for use in those encounters. So it doesn't matter whether if you're just a newbie or if you're a veteran who has everything for Hero Lab, you'll still be able to use stone giants, wights, succubi, all of the feats from Ultimate Combat, spells from Ultimate Magic, races from different supplement books. You'll still be able to use all of these within the context of the Adventure Path. You won't need to worry about, okay, do I have this book? Do I have this book? Hero Lab will provide all of those and provide all that information and make it available to you. Now, if you're a veteran player, you probably have a lot more options in Hero Lab. You probably have, especially if you're a GM, you probably have content from the Bestiaries, the NRC Bestiary, the Monster Codex. And so what that's going to give you, if you want to customize the encounters for your party, let's say that you want to change the theme of one of the chapters of the Adventure Path to better fit in with your gaming group or your campaign setting. You'll have many more options with the encounter builder. We now support thousands of different monsters and NPCs that you can use in your games. You can also, the more content that you have, the more that you can use. The more cool classes, cool archetypes, cool special abilities, feats, spells. The more cool and interesting things that you can build into your NPCs.
How should a person use these encounters during play? Like, do you have any tips for the actual running of an encounter?
So I GM a Pathfinder game, and I'm about to start GMing a Shadowrun game as well. And one of the most important things that I find ways that Hero Lab can help is running combats. One of the things it's a small thing, but one of the things that I loathe most is keeping track of initiative during combat, for example, because it's a pain to get everything written down, and then somebody's initiative always changes, somebody delays their action. It's really, really irritating to keep track of. And so what I try to do is get everybody's characters into Hero Lab, and then I can use Hero Lab's tactical console to run combats. Hero Lab will roll initiative for all of the monsters. My players can roll their own initiative. Hero Lab will order everything appropriately, and will then just take me through the combat. Who's first? Who's next? Oh, you delayed your action. Okay, somebody else gets to go. Oh, now you act, and now your initiative needs to be changed. Where we think people will get the most use out of this is going to be the tactical console and just helping run their combats and having, like I said, all of the information, all of the special abilities, all of the stats, everything for all of the NPCs present. Even if you don't use the tactical console, even if you use a more traditional way of tracking initiative, there's the Combat Manager app, or just pencil and paper, or there's that little kind of magnetic whiteboard thingy that's Paizo, I think, published a few years ago. Hero Lab will still show you all of the stats, all of the spells, everything you need to keep track of NPCs in combat. Which abilities do they have? What do they do? Which spells have they used so far? How many level 4 spells have they got left? Does this guy have any specialized spells left? You can even, if you want to have like a hard copy reference for a specific NPC, like the main bad guy at the end of an adventure path, for example, you could even print them out beforehand to review, or even to use during the game if you like having a printed character sheet for something, or even have that, save it to a PDF and put it on your iPad.
Now, I ran in Rise of the Rune Lords. We're in Book 2. I ran that on Monday, and actually up on the screen right now is the monster that the PCs faced. It's a flesh golem, and at one point the question was if flesh golem was immune to precision damage, which I know that golems have a whole list of immunities, so I wasn't sure offhand, but luckily I was running it through Hero Lab, and I had all that information right there in a column that at one point mysteriously disappeared. I don't know what I did, but I was able to find that information again pretty quickly.
Nice, yeah. It's especially with with all of the new monsters and new classes and so on. There's just a lot of things you need to be aware of when you're running when you're GMing something. And Hero Lab, for me at least, Hero Lab makes sure that I'm aware of all that. Makes it much less that I forget something or neglect to do something during the game.
Now, there was one thing I had to reference the book for, and that was the tactics and morale section. Did I miss it, or is that not included in the Monsters Write-Up?
We're not currently including that. If we wanted to include that stuff, we're trying to augment the PDF and not or the hardcover rulebook and not replace it. And if we included that stuff, there would also need to be a bunch of other stuff we would want to include about how to run the encounter, because quite often there's, as well as the actual stat block for the monster, there will also be a section on here's the setting for the encounter, here's the situation as stuff starts, and we currently don't have a good way to present that in Hero Lab. So that's not something that we include right now, and the idea is that you reference the PDF or the printed book for that information, and then when you get down to the actual mechanics, you come into Hero Lab where we have all of that stuff set up for you. So, for example, if the before combat section of those of the stat block says, well, if the NPC hears, a battle in the next room, he casts such and such a spell and such a spell, and then he uses this ability. We actually start the NPC with all of those enabled. And for the ones that aren't, with stuff like Barbarian Rage, for example, you can just enable that with the click of a button within Hero Lab.
Now, when I was running the encounter, I only ever used one book, and that was the Adventure Path book. And I referenced it for the morale, but that was a book that I already had out anyway. So as far as the amount of space that I needed and how much referencing to the bookshelf I needed to do, it was a book that I already had out. So Hero Lab really did save me a lot of space and time.
Right. I mean, especially when you look at the number of things that are from the Bestiary 3 or the Bestiary 4 or other supplements, you'd be carting a huge bag of stuff around if you wanted to have access to everything. Especially because for a lot of those, it'll just say, 10 ogres, hit points, however much, and then see this book, like the Bestiary or whatever. Hero Lab will include all of those, and all the stats are already present for you, no referencing required.
Also, one of the things that I really appreciated was how easy it was to go through the different, to find the specific encounter. So you go into the encounter manager, and then there's all of the Rise of the Rune Lords content, and with just a toggle button, I shut down everything from book 1, which I'd already was done, and was able to just focus on book 2 to get to the specific part that my encounters were in. It took me about 30 seconds to find my specific encounter. That was so easy, and I really appreciate that.
Awesome. We tried to make it as easy as possible to find stuff. So in addition to we arrange everything by book, by part of the book. You can also search by the name of the encounter, by the page number, or by the room location. So that's for if you just came back after running last week and hey, the players are in room, they're about to go into room B3. All right, search for B3, and there's the encounter, and you can just bring it up right there.
Now, in the first book, there was a much higher tendency than at least in the session that I ran, for one encounter to kind of bleed into the other one. So if I start an encounter in room B1 and then they trigger, they draw the attention of B2, and suddenly we've got all kinds of goblins piling into the room from multiple encounters. How do I manage that?
So that's super easy to do. All you need to do is, let's say, in the middle of one encounter, somebody cries out and attracts the goblins from the next room, like you said. All you need to do is go to the encounter for the next room, like Param's just demonstrating there. Hit the import button, and you can import stuff from any other encounter into the current game. The Hero Lab just maintains a list of all of the characters, so you can add new characters from other encounters, or you can build custom ones. You can customize this whatever you like by combining different encounters, or even adding in NPCs or characters that you've custom made. Hero Lab makes that all very easy.
Let's talk about the NPCs. The first book introduces a lot of NPCs that my party were regularly going to for advice, or they went to the cleric to kind of, solve their post-adventure problems. Are they statted out, and are they in the Rise of the Runelords package somewhere?
Yes, any NPC who is statted out is included. So if there's somebody just listed as, oh, this guy's like a level 10 commoner, we don't really have enough to go on, so we can't include the details for him. But there was, I remember a guy, I think in part 1, he's, I forget his name, but he's a level 7 commoner, I think, and we have him, for example, in Hero Lab. There's a bunch of rangers from part either 1 or 2. We have them in Hero Lab, so even this isn't just for monsters. This also includes important NPCs from the game that you can use either as allies for the PCs, or that you can just use as to find out, what their heal skill is, what spells they have access to for curing disease or removing curses. Hero Lab makes that all easy as well.
That's good, because that was probably the thing I was having the most trouble keeping track of before this. I know Meiko is statted out, but it took me forever to remember that her stats are in the back matter of Volume 2 of the Pathfinder comic book trade paperback. And it's just
Wow.
Well, because there's so much Rise of the Runelords content out there, it's hard to keep track of what is where, unless you've got it all packaged nicely in a nice Hero Lab file. Now, you actually... Lone Wolf wasn't the first person to put together a Rise of the Runelords encounter pack for Hero Lab. Your own website, the Lone Wolf website, has some fan-created ones. So how is the official package different from the fan-created ones?
There are a couple of really important differences. The first is that because of all of the dependencies in other books that I mentioned before, our official package includes... It provides all of that content for you to use in those encounters. So all you need to do is buy the Rise of the Runelords stuff, buy that one package, and you'll get everything you need. You don't need to worry about, oh, do I have the right books for this? Which is obviously not something you want to worry about in the middle of a game. We also include all of the art for something. So we include thumbnails and images for not just the stuff, not just the NPCs from the bestiary, but also from the images from Rise of the Runelords. We're actually missing a few of those right now, but we're hoping to get those from Paizo soon, and once we do, that'll just be a free update for anybody with the Rise of the Runelords content. And then the other really nice thing is that once you have this, with just a couple clicks, you can download it, and Hero Lab will automatically have it ready for use. So if you move between computers, for example, Hero Lab will maintain it. Hero Lab will know, hey, you need to download this on your new computer, and it'll automatically become available for you.
We got a question from the audience, our first of the night, from the Venka Thalma. He says, if he doesn't have Hero Lab yet, which products must he buy to have the AP running? Is it just Hero Lab Core plus the AP? I know you already answered this, but just to reiterate, Colin.
Yes, absolutely. You'll just need, you basically need Hero Lab. Hero Lab comes with a license for one game system, so when you purchase your license and activate it, you would choose Pathfinder, and after that you can add the Rise of the Runelords package to your license. And then Rise of the Runelords includes access to all of the stuff from the other books, like the Bestiary, Bestiary 2, Bestiary 3. All of that stuff is included for use in those encounters.
Now, I use Hero Lab on a laptop, and I'm kind of jealous of the additional functionality my tablet user friends have. Is there anything that I get that I can make them jealous?
As a GM, you mean, or as a player?
As a Hero Lab user on a laptop.
We don't have... Let's see... no, not that I can think of. I'm afraid your friends will just have to taunt you with their shiny iPads and touch-based character sheet interfaces for now.
So maybe I should get with the times. Is that what you're telling me, Colin?
Well, so if you're, I mean, if you're the GM, right now the iPad app has great support for players, but it doesn't have anything cool that any of the cool GM functionality that the laptop does. So no tactical console, for example. It's a little less convenient. It's not really designed. The iPad app isn't designed for switching between a party of adventurers and a bunch of NPCs and running a combat with them. So the iPad app is, if I'm playing Pathfinder, I want the iPad app. If I'm GMing Pathfinder, I want all of the power and the additional functionality for GMing that the laptop has. In terms of player stuff, they're pretty similar, but the desktop version, the laptop version include a lot more support for GM stuff.
So through no fault of my own, I ended up with the exact tools I needed to run this optimally.
Yes, it's almost like you planned it from the beginning.
Of course, I'm
sitting. Talking a lot. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so of course I'm sitting over here jealous because like you've got this, and we're going to talk about the sound set up for it coming up soon, and yeah, I had to run this thing out of books with paper.
Keep that in mind when we talk about something in the news section, Param. Just keep that in mind.
Yes, I will.
You've touched on this, Colin, but how does a GM customize the encounters or add their own content while prepping for a game?
So we provide all of the basic encounters as described in the Rise of the Rune Lords adventure path. You can go in and import those before the game, and then let's say that your players are kind of stomping through everything and they're walking all over everything. You can say, oh, hey, I'll have instead of 5 ogres here, I'm going to have 7 ogres, and just import more of certain monsters to use in an encounter. Or you can say, hey, instead of these 5 ogres, I'm going to give them each 1 level of fighter. So to make them more challenging, or make one a sorcerer, or just customize them in any way that Hero Lab lets you, whether that's adding class levels. We've got one thing we just released in a recent update has been monster customization as well, making it super easy to add hit dice, to add to change the size, to add new special abilities, new natural attacks. So you can do any of that customizing that you want. Also, you can also create completely new characters or NPCs to use in the encounters. And the only difference is whether you bring it in from the main encounter list, or whether you bring it in from here's a portfolio that I made earlier with a certain encounter in it that I've customized to however I like.
You mentioned customizing. Hero Lab Unchained is available as of tomorrow?
Yes, that's right. We will be releasing that tomorrow sometime. Pathfinder Unchained has a whole bunch of really cool rules, which I guess it released today, right? So I can actually talk about it now. Yeah. So one of the things that I would have really wanted for my gaming group. This is just one of the things that Pathfinder Unchained includes that Hero Lab supports. We found that for Pathfinder, the skills, for example, it was very easy to kind of min-max your character, and okay, he has max ranks in stealth and spellcraft, but then he doesn't have any interesting background stuff. And one of the new things in Pathfinder Unchained spills out into two categories, where you have, here's the ones that are the useful that in adventuring, the ones that I like to think of as actually useful skills, and then here's the ones like profession cartwright. Or the perform skills, and you get kind of bonus skill ranks to spend on those, which is super cool to just allow your characters to have some flavor. Hero Lab will be supporting that as of the release tomorrow, as well as all of the other interesting skill modifications and all of the other cool stuff added in Pathfinder Unchained.
Now that actually surprised me. I just got done reading Pathfinder Unchained, and I expected when you said in pre-thing that you were supporting Unchained, I thought that just meant, oh, he's bringing in the characters and all the PFS stuff that was just declared legal. So the skill system, are you doing any of the other alternate systems, like the iterative attack system or anything like that?
Yes. So our goal is to support everything from that book. I think initially we'll be basing a couple of the magic subsystems and the simplified monster creation. But in the initial release, for example, there's the 4 new classes that I'm sure everybody already knows about. There is the variant multiclassing system that you can use to pick a different way to use multi-classing for your characters. There are a bunch of different skill systems, grouped skills, consolidated skills. We'll be supporting all of those. So the skills tab in Hero Lab will customize itself to display whatever layout that you're using. You can combine those if your gaming group is doing that, so that you can use background skills and grouped skills together. I think you can do that, and that's not a problem. There's also new magic stuff, the simplified spell casting that gives you a spell pool to cast spells out of. We support that as well. There's a bunch of new combat stuff like the removing iterative attacks that we support. We show some additional information to help you figure out how many times you hit. There's new combat trick stuff that we support as well. Our intent is to, and we'll have a couple of these will be missing at the initial release. We'll be filling those in later. Our intent is to support all of the optional rules from the book, and what that means is once you pick up Pathfinder Unchained for Hero Lab, you can just go into your character and check the rules that I'll be using. I'm going to use simplified spellcasting and consolidated skills and the new classes. And you can check all those. Hero Lab will make them all available, and you can use any of those that you like in your games.
Now, will it be called out? Like, will there be some visual cue so that I know that something's been checked? Like, just so that I know that I'm looking at an Unchained skill list instead of a core skill list?
For those skills, it'll be pretty obvious. We don't if you're familiar with the core Pathfinder list of skills, you'll notice that something is different, and we don't check any of those automatically. It's always up to you to go and say, I want to use this new rule, or I want to use that particular rule. If you pick up Pathfinder Unchained, all the new classes are available automatically, but all the optional rules, you still need to choose which of those you want to use.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was a setup for something, Param. You're just...
No, it's just like my GM brain is like on overdrive right now because can I mix and match in a portfolio? For instance, one of the optional rules I really want to use is the less magic items rules, the inherent stat bonuses to replace magic items when building NPCs, so that I don't run around with giant loot pinatas.
That's a great idea.
Could I build one of those, here's my BBEG built using that rule set, and throw him into the Hero Lab encounter with my normal characters?
Yes, absolutely. You can. It's on a per character basis, so you could even, if your players wanted to use different skill mechanisms, for example, and you said okay because you liked making extra work for yourself, you could have multiple different characters in the portfolio with one of them who's using one type of skills, one of them who's using the default skills, and then maybe even you've got a beginner to the game, so you want him to be able to use the one of the simplified rule sets. You can let him or her do that as well. And then you can also customize any of the monsters, any NPCs with whatever you want, and like you said, have different ones in the portfolio using different settings.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I have to ask a question that combines both the things we've talking about. How easy is it after tomorrow to go into Rise of the Runelords and swap out, say, one of the big bads from Book 1 and turn all his rogue levels into Unchained rogue levels?
That's going to be pretty easy. You would just import him with just a couple of clicks using the encounter library that you showed earlier. You go to the Classes tab, delete whatever rogue levels he has, add the new Unchained rogue levels, and then pick whatever choices he gets. Rogue talents. I don't remember if there are any other things added for new rogues. But you can then also turn on whatever supplemental rules that you want, like the new skills or the special the magic item replacement rules, or any of those also.
Now, if people want to see what the encounter builder is like in play, you guys, We Be Goblins is included as a free one for Hero Lab, right?
Yes, we included that just so that we'd be able to, so that everybody would have something there. And that's also kind of cool for people who are getting their friends into Pathfinder and using that as a first adventure.
So, now that you've done one set, and is there going to be more to follow?
Yeah, we've been doing. So we don't have the specifics to announce yet, but we're definitely going to be doing more for more adventure paths. What we'd like to be doing, and hopefully we can make this happen, is as the adventure path releases every month, we just update its entry in the encounter list to include all that new stuff. And so you just get one new download, and as soon as the book comes out, you're ready to run that for your gaming group.
So then will the priority be for the new ones as they come out?
We're not sure yet. It's a lot of work to get the old ones entered, and so in a lot of ways it's going to be easier to put the new ones in. But we're investigating options that will let us kind of backfill the old catalog. I'm not sure. We're not really sure how far we'll go back in that. That'll be something that we figure out over the next 2 months, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think it's safe to assume the 3.5, the ones that haven't been converted, not on the list.
I don't think so. No, anything's possible, but I'd be surprised if there was enough demand for that to make that be something that we would want to focus on.
Now, what if it's an adventure path that has a unique subsystem like Kingmaker, Kingdom Building? Is that something that you would incorporate at all into Hero Lab, or is that completely outside of Hero Lab's function?
That's not really something that we do for a specific adventure path. For Kingmaker specifically, I believe a lot of the kingdom building functionality is actually included in our Ultimate Campaign package. So with Ultimate Campaign, you don't just build characters. You can also build armies, kingdoms, settlements. Your characters can keep track of their downtime activities and how they run the inn or the settlement that they're building, the different buildings in it, the amount of resources that gets them every month. So Ultimate Campaign, that add-on happens to include a bunch of that stuff from Kingmaker, which I think it's more or less the same, and they just kind of spruce it up a bit for Ultimate Campaign.
Now, is there any talk about doing similar packages but for the module line or possibly Pathfinder Society adventures?
That's very possible. We kind of want to do some of the adventure paths first and get our feet under us and see how they do. And then once we've got some experience and figured out how this whole thing is going, because I think it's only been out for about a little less than a week at this point. Once we've got a few of those under our belt, once we've got a few of those under our belt, we'll look at other things like modules and Pathfinder Society stuff. But I don't know when that would be. That would be at the minimum several months off into the future.
We have a question from the audience, and I'm going to encourage anyone that has any questions to get them in now, because although we've still got you booked for another 25 minutes, Colen, I think we're running out of questions just because the functionality is so straightforward. It's hard to, I felt like I was just setting you up for questions with things that were fairly obvious after I've used the system. But anyway, if anyone has any questions that we might have missed, please bring them in now, such as Alex Agunas, our very own Alex Agunas. He says, I'm a third-party publisher. One of the things that my customers are always asking for is Hero Lab support, specifically files. What do I need to do to create these mythical Hero Lab files for my customers? And is there someone who would do it for me?
Probably yes. So what I would recommend Alex do is get in touch with us. Just send us an email send me an email, Colen, my first name, Colen, @wolflair.com. Just Alex, not anybody else, please. And we can put you in touch with people who will hopefully be able to help you out with that.
This would be a paid service, I assume?
We typically don't handle that stuff for third-party publishers ourselves. What we do is put them in touch with data file authors who are experienced with Pathfinder and can do that sort of thing. And yes, typically that's not free, but there are people out there who will help you with entering all that data and help you get it out there for Hero Lab.
So Hero Lab does have a robust level of third-party support too.
Right. We actually very recently, just a few months ago, we released support for Legendary Games Gothic Compendium with some cool Gothic-themed classes, feats, all of that stuff. We also include classics like the Tome of Horrors Complete that came out for Pathfinder, Tome of Horrors from Frog God Games. I used a bunch of the monsters from there in one of my adventures. That was pretty cool. Oh, very nice. Mm-hmm. We also include a bunch of Kobold Press stuff from the Midgard campaign setting. We recently released the New Paths Compendium from Kobold Press as well. Then just in December, Green Ronin's Advanced Bestiary that got kickstarted. that's available as well. So all of those and a few more are available within Hero Lab, and you can add them to your license. Just like you're, of course, all going to add Rise of the Rune Lords and Pathfinder Unchained to your license this weekend.
Oh, now that you mentioned that and mentioned the bestiaries, this is something I didn't check out. Since when you get the Rise of the Rune Lords and you get all those encounters, will those NPCs and monsters show up in the encounter builder search with the 3,000 plus monsters that are in there?
They unfortunately won't. When we started off developing this feature, we envisioned it as two separate things. There's the encounter builder, which has all of the stock characters from the bestiaries, from all the other books, the Tome of Horrors complete, and then there was the encounter library, which is all of the encounters from the other stuff that you have access to. As we kind of towards the end of development, we realized that those two things were maybe a lot closer than we had originally thought that they were, but we didn't have time to kind of go through and rework stuff to make it so. I'm hoping at some point in the future we'll get the chance to go back and combine those, because that would be pretty sweet, is to have all of the individual NPCs from the Adventure Pass that you have, be able to have all of those in the Encounter Builder as well. That would be cool.
Now, just going to throw this out there. We've got Ben from Syrinscape coming on shortly. Any talk of having it so that when somebody queues up, let's say in Hero Lab, they queue up a specific encounter to start playing the Syrinscape songs? Like that's easy to do, right?
Oh yeah. Let's. I'll have that. 15 minutes.
You can have 20.
You're very kind, sir.
Well, I mean, your campaign's not going to start again until the end of this show, Ryan. He's got like an hour.
But more broadly and seriously, is Hero Lab talking about partnering with anybody? Because there's a lot of really cool support out there for Pathfinder products.
On the Adventure Path specifically, or anything else? This is kind of a new thing, and we're still, in a lot of ways, we're waiting to see how this goes. We already have robust relationships with third-party publishers like Frog God Games, Cobalt Press, Green Ronin. I know for Realmworks, we're also discussing a number of things. So we're definitely always open to new ways to do cool things with Hero Lab. One of the cool things that Hero Lab does is, when you save a Hero Lab file, whether that's a character or a monster or an encounter or whatever, Hero Lab includes various different versions of that in its saved file, and so you can take that file and import that into virtual tabletops like Fantasy Grounds or D20 Pro, for example. And so we already integrate with some of those tools, and we're always interested in talking to people who have new things that can potentially use Hero Lab, because that's both cool for users and it saves them a lot of work, right? If you're making some Pathfinder utility, you don't necessarily want to have to make people make their character from scratch. If they just already have a character or a monster or an encounter or something that they can plug in, then that's great. And I think the Combat Manager tool that uses Hero Lab save files, I believe. So you can do, and yeah, so we're always open for integrating with tools like that or other new things that come up.
I can speak from experience on that. The Hero Lab files are really easy to work with, because you guys are just using, for the most part, what I've seen, standard XML files.
Yeah, I think for people who are familiar with that, they're simple to work with because it's an industry standard format. We also have a built-in editor, so you can go in and add new feats, new spells. Even if you're feeling excitable, you can add new classes. One of my coworkers has his own Pathfinder campaign, and what he did was he entered a bunch of additional stuff for that campaign in the editor, and then just sent those details to everybody who was playing in it, and they just imported that stuff into Hero Lab. Hey, now they have access to all of the stuff that they need for his specific campaign. So we have an editor that will let you do that in a kind of point-and-clicky way. It's got a few rough edges, but it's still, we've got tutorials. It's relatively understandable for people. And then if you want to dive into the nitty-gritty details, you can just edit the files. They're XML. We have standard XML. We've got our scripting language that you can write stuff in, and that's what makes Hero Lab so powerful, because you can you're not limited to just what we've done. If you get a grip on our scripting language, you can add new feats, new abilities, new classes that do a whole bunch of other cool stuff that we potentially didn't think about, but which, because you have this customizability, you can make it happen for your games.
I'm just going to give another reminder to anyone that has any last questions for Colen, lead developer of Hero Lab Development.
Lone Wolf Development.
Hero Lab. I'm sorry. Colen, if you has any questions for Colen, then now's your last chance. While Colen, we move on to conventions. What conventions is Hero Lab going to be present at?
So we are going to be, I unfortunately will not be there, but my coworkers will be. We'll be at PaizoCon in Seattle next month, which is just in, oh my goodness, it's only in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
So at both PaizoCon and Gen Con, we'll be running Hero Lab's character creation station, where you can, we'll have a bunch of laptops and some printers, and you can go up there and check out Hero Lab, make a character. And you can make a new character if you're just starting a game and you don't have one, or you can take an existing character and put it into Hero Lab. That's definitely come by and see us, say hi, try it out. We can show you how the program works if you're not familiar with it. So we'll have that at PaizoCon. I will have a bigger version of that at Gen Con in the Pathfinder Society room, and then we'll also be at Gen Con with a booth where you can come see us. So you can come see Hero Lab, come see our campaign management product, Realmworks, which is also pretty cool, and also I believe see one of your further guests this evening.
Oh, Ben's going to be sharing a booth with you?
So I understand. I don't know if that's final though.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody.
Because of that thing you're doing, so that the music starts.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I understand if you don't want to share numbers, but can you give me a ballpark of how many new Pathfinder Society characters come out of Hero Lab at, say, a PaizoCon or a Gen Con?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm trying to...
I imagine those laser printers are overworked.
Yeah, one of them was making kind of a funny noise last year as well. We're a little concerned about it. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was after Gen Con, I believe we had printed out well over 1,000 characters.
Wow.
So that's a lot of people playing in Pathfinder Society games.
All right, I am told that there are a bunch of questions posted on our event. Oh, I see. Here we go. Okay. We have a couple of questions from John Pakowski. He says, what were the hurdles that Hero Lab software designers and developers faced when designing the application?
Well, let's see the hurdles. So one of the nice things about this is that we're all gamers. Like I recently realized that I've been playing RPGs for like 20 years, and I believe at least one of my coworkers has been playing them for longer than I'm alive. So we're all very, we know what we would want to use, and we can kind of turn that into something useful for other people as well. The two kind of big things that come to mind. Firstly, Pathfinder is just really, really complicated. There's like a saying in software development where the first 80% of the program takes the first 80% of the time, and then the last 20% of the program takes the second 80% of the time. And the problem with not the problem with Pathfinder. One of the interesting things about Pathfinder is that there's just so much complexity and so many little edge cases that to do things well, we need to support. So here's like a great example. A few months ago, we actually added support for shape shifting. So you can now, if you're like a druid who can wild shape, there's now like a button on the in-play tab that you can go to. You can press the button. You can choose, oh, I'm going to wild shape into a polar bear, and then check a box. Hero Lab is going to implement all of the stat bonuses that you get, any new special abilities that you get, and just implementing that in a general way took us weeks because there are a lot of special cases of which abilities you do and you don't get, and stuff that sounds really simple. Oh yeah, just like change into a polar bear, just adding a few special abilities, no big deal. That stuff often just kind of blossoms out into a lot of complexity that we then have to support in such a way as that it not just works for what we have now, but we can also use it for what Paizo releases next month and next year. And there have been a lot of cases where Paizo has kind of gone down routes that we couldn't originally support, but because Hero Lab is so flexible, we can make those work, whereas a more hard-coded character creation tool possibly couldn't.
He has a second question for you. How does Hero Lab store character data? Does it use a database, and if so, which one?
We do not use a database. Everything is so for character data. If you mean saved characters, then those are just files on your hard disk. You can make a character, save it to a file, send it to your friend, put it in your Dropbox, load it on Hero Lab for the iPad. For the actual game data, that's all in our secured package files that only Hero Lab can load. So we have a license with Paizo where basically we're licensed with them to use all the Pathfinder stuff, but that's not like a general thing, so we keep that close to our chest. But the actual character that we make, we include, when you save a character, we include an XML file, we include an HTML stat block, a text stat block. That it sounds like this chappie is pretty tech capable, so you can actually open up the saved character and pull all of those out of the saved character file, just like it was a zip file. And so that's basically how Hero Lab integrates with other tools. Is other tools can consume those files from the character.
I think we're done, Colin. Is there anything you'd like to shout out to, or anything that we missed that you think people should know?
I guess we've mentioned this a couple times, but one of the super convenient things is you don't need to worry about which books you have. If you get the Rise of the Runelords package, you have everything that you need, all of the monsters, all of the spells, all of the feats that you need to run the game. It's super convenient, and I think once you try the tactical console for running everything, you'll see just how convenient it is to not have to do stuff with pen and paper anymore. In terms of shoutouts, big thank you to the rest of the Hero Lab team who did most of the work on this project, and also just we've got the Hero Lab data file authors are burning the 6 p.m. Pacific time oil right now to get Pathfinder Unchained ready for its release tomorrow. So a big thank you to them as well.
And I just want to reinforce what you were saying. I ran it on a Hero Lab account that had nothing but Pathfinder core, and I wasn't looking for any additional data files. I didn't lack for anything. Everything I needed was in the data package, exactly as promised.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you, Colin. We'll be right back with the news. All right. So, Colin, we're between segments right now, but we're still live. So don't be like, "Whoa, swear."
All right.
Yeah, so we'll send you a link when the podcast version is out. And otherwise, thank you for joining us again.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me. It's been great to be here.
All right, cool. I will fist bump somebody else from your team to deliver that fist bump to you.
Excellent. Thank you. And I guess I'll see you guys again next year.
Cool. We'll make it an annual tradition.
Have a good night, you guys.
All right, take care.
Good night, man.
So
all right.
Ben will be joining us shortly, I imagine. Ben, if you're listening now, feel free to click the link. Otherwise, Param, how do you want to do this? Do we just wait until Ben arrives?
We'll give him a few minutes. Guys, while we're in between segments, if you have any questions you want to ask Ben about Syrinscape or the Rise of the Runelords sound files that have been released about that, or anything along those lines, go ahead and get them in. I hear he also runs a really cool podcast. So if you have questions about that, also go ahead and get them in. We'll be asking them throughout the episode. And by the way, here's Ben.
Hello, Ben.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can totally hear you.
Excellent day. Am I horribly loud or too soft?
You were soft to me.
You're fine to me.
Okay, I'll turn myself up a bit, and then I gather you can mix or something in your browser. How's that sound now?
You sound good to me now, Param.
You sound good.
All right.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Fantastic. I need lower thirds or something. Is that right?
Oh yes.
Yes. Just let me give you the link to yours. Let me.
Like you've done this before.
And I want to
I
run
get
a
a pain.
and I want to run a sound check on Syrinscape here in a second before we.
Cool.
While I was doing all that stuff in Hero Lab, I was simultaneously trying to rig up a Syrinscape sound.
Excellent. It's always a great complexity. Complexity. It's a complexity for my fellow plodplasters.
I don't care if that's not a real word. I want it to be.
That's great. I like complexity. It's like when you're confused about the complexity. I'm in a silly mood. This could be dangerous second.
What time is it?
There it is.
Right now?
Oh, it's just in the middle of the day on Thursday.
Oh,
I think.
Yeah. I wish all our guests could be the middle of the day on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm totally chilled.
I feel bad whenever we have you on.
No, you mustn't. It's incredibly straightforward.
Oh, right.
In group chat, I just posted the link to your updated.
Okay. So if I click on that,
yeah.
What the heck do I do to that?
Okay,
I'll
so
save it somewhere.
Yeah, save it to your computer somewhere, and then you're going to want to open up the Hangout toolbox. Now, if it isn't on the left-hand menu when you hover your mouse in the camera view.
Chat. What's the little symbol look like?
It looks like a red toolbox.
A red. Oh, I see a red toolbox. Hangout toolbox. Okay, click on that.
Yep.
I feel
And
like
on the left hand of that, when it pops up, is a little head in the circle. You want to click on that, and then down to Custom Overlay, you're going to upload it.
Oh, cool. Okay, yep. I even remembered where I saved it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then once you hit that, you have to actually click the little on-off button next to it.
Okay, yeah. Syrinscape. Benjamin Loomes. Open. Ah, look at that. Cool. Yay.
Excellent.
It's appearing. It's appearing for me. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Great. It's very weird looking over the other screen where I'm running live on YouTube because that's very confusing because it's.
Oh yes. Just make sure it's muted. That
it is.
You get a weird echo loop.
I usually scroll that down so that it's just the comments that show up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because then if I do if I see myself doing a weird face in the YouTube thing, I'll adjust it, but that face was 6 seconds ago, so I'm not making it anymore, and then I just made another weird face.
That's really cool. And that way I can see the comments and I can see all the torrent of people saying how brilliant and good looking and all those things I am. So that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
You laughed, but a couple of episodes ago, somebody was talking about how good looking I am.
Oh, that's lovely.
Right.
That's lovely. I shan't argue with them. That's a totally fair comment.
Thanks, bro. Remind me how we pronounce your last name.
Loomes.
Loomes. All right. I
Yeah.
had it in my head that it was Loomis for so long that.
Yeah.
All right.
It's English. Yeah, everything about my life I have to spell. Oh, there's Syrinscape. Yay.
And now I got to try. Let's see. Misgivings.
Are you showing? Are you showing just a window, Param? Are you showing just a window?
Yes.
Or the whole screen? Because I reckon if you drag that window a bit smaller, we might be able to see the text a bit bigger. I don't know if that's possible.
Oh, let me try that.
Yeah.
I have not tried that.
If you just that's it. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's cool. Now the parts are bigger. I got a little bit confused.
All right. So this is a sound test.
Hear nothing.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Definitely resounding silence. Yes.
Okay, hold on a second, and I'm going to have to relaunch. I'm going to have to relaunch it.
Yeah. Cool. Yep.
Make sure I'm trying to split my sound channels.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the correct there, and that is the correct there. So hopefully.
Should we be telling jokes or something?
Okay, yeah. Sorry for our audience that is sort of seeing how the sausage is made.
The best pun I recently heard was that I got a new pair of shoes from my drug dealer. I don't know what they're laced with, but I've been tripping all day.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can take in cocaine through the soles of your feet. You probably can. It's probably something that people have tried.
Well, they use stickers. Well, no, that's ecstasy.
Do they? Okay, yeah, that's true.
Wow, I'm regretting bringing this up. We don't need to talk about how to get drugs through your feet, guys.
I've never even put a cigarette on my lips. I'm so incredibly sheltered and responsible my whole life.
Let's see, Misgivings House. Let's try this again.
If you hit a one-shotter or something, hit the Wilhelm screen. Oh yeah. Oh god, that's scary.
I assume it's actually a win.
You probably turn the volume down, I reckon. Turn the master volume down and see if that helps. Oh yeah, that's sounding good.
Drop a fireball.
Yeah, that's good. That sounds like it's not sort of peaking or anything now. And hit the Wilhelm scream.
Oh, which one is that?
Bottom right.
The guy that just like...
This one
The
here?
guy with the spear through him, yeah.
Wait, that...
And so very bottom right, very, very bottom of the whole interface.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yay!
I love it. I love it. Excellent. Okay, so we're good.
Okay, good.
Cool. Now, Ben, do we have permission to use Syrinscape sounds during this podcast?
You do. You'll have to give due credit, though, and say, what is it? That's, yeah, I give you official permission. That's right.
It'll just be for your segment. We're not going to suddenly have a soundtrack to No Direction, stealing all your noises.
You can use the noises in No Direction. You're very welcome. In fact, all podcasters are welcome to do that, and just say "Sound of Music supplied by Syrinscape," or give it an actual shout out in the episode. It's totally welcome. That's what it's a tool for people to use.
All right,
The only sort of use that isn't really licensed is when you just make a show that's an hour and a half of each of our sound sets running without anything else.
Well, that would be bad.
That would be fairly, yes. That would get a terse reply from me pretty quickly.
But again, that's the equivalent of just doing like putting two stereos together and bootlegging FM radio. It's not what you want to do because it's going to sound horrible.
That's right, absolutely. Put Syrinscape on cassette tape. Oh, a series of cassette tapes. Oh, that'd sell like hotcakes. That'd be fantastic.
The multiplicity effect.
Well, I hear mine's popular.
All right.
Oh, I think we've hit on a brilliant business plan here, guys.
Okay, guys, we're ready to go?
I'm ready.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. We're going to start with your cool stuff. Then we're going to, after we get done with all your cool stuff, the rest of the news segment, just so you're prepared, is going to be talking about the Pathfinder Society Unchained rules, the faction cards that were released for Pathfinder Society, Battle Foam bag thingy, just getting a mention, and then congratulations to Paizo staff for promotion.
Cool. So I know all about Unchained because I've read it. So that's cool.
Ryan is like out in the cold here.
I am chained.
We have all read Unchained.
Yeah. There's no unchainedness of any kind for Ryan. Oh, cool. Well, that's good. We can discuss a bit.
Cool. So
All
you're
right.
willing to stay for the whole news segment?
Yeah, I reckon I'm happy to.
All right, cool. It'll
If you're
probably
happy
be
to.
about half an hour. We'll see.
Yeah. Excellent.
Param, you want to cut us down?
Okay, we'll be going in 3, 2, 1.
In the Pathfinder news segment, we talk about all the relevant. I've been doing that all night. All the relevant information to Pathfinder enthusiasts. News from Paizo, news from licensees, news from third-party publishers. We've got so much news from one specific licensee, Syrinscape, that we actually brought the guy in. What's her title?
A creative director or something powerful sounding like that. Or
There we go.
multi-class Bard Paladin half-elf, I think, officially.
We've got Benjamin Loomes back on the show. Welcome back, Ben.
I'm very glad to be here. I was a big fan for many years before I ever appeared on the show, and now I love talking to you every time we do.
We've got you almost on a semi-regular segment at this point.
Yeah, it's cool.
So we brought you on because Jenny gave us an email that just alluded to so many things. She's just like, he's got announcements, and at PaizoCon he's going to announce something else, and there's all kinds of cool things coming from Syrinscape. So get us started. What's the coolest thing that's coming from Syrinscape?
Oh, the biggest and most cool thing, I think, is the player character sound sets. We're super excited about this. So your Dungeon Master's running a battle on Syrinscape. He's got it over the stereo system. It's sort of surrounding the room. It comes to your turn. You're a wizard. You have it just sitting on your iPad. Maybe you've got a tiny little rechargeable USB speaker, or I found actually the most recent iPad speakers are hugely loud and actually work really well. You say, I circle around behind the group, I line up so the rogue is completely in the area effect, and I drop a fireball, and you can touch now your PC wizard sound set and make the fireball sound. Woohoo! And we're going through the whole spell book. We're not going to cover millions of spells, obviously, but we're picking up the most important ones. So magic missile, fireball. Then there'll be some sort of generic, icy ones and some generic electricity ones, and making sure that you've got an amazing toolbox to sort of add some of your own personal sounds into the mix, which is really, really exciting. There'll be so free RPG Day is where that's going to happen. So if anyone's able to get along to free RPG Day, then you're highly likely to be able to pick up for free the Fighter, the Wizard, and the Rogue at free RPG Day, and you'll get a voucher code that'll give you access to those for your own device. Yay! And also at PaizoCon, we'll be releasing the Cleric sound set, which will have all sorts of really cool turning effects. Plus, obviously the melee characters will have armor noises and various different swooshing weapon sounds and crashes and squelches. So we're really excited about that and working really, really hard. And I reckon that's the most exciting thing.
All right, let's talk about that, because that is amazing.
Yeah, I did not expect that. That was not in my imagination of coolness, and now it is.
So I mean, you go.
We got to formulate questions now because you also dropped this on us. This is a cool.
Oh gosh. Okay, so free RPG Day, they're gonna if you show up, you probably get one of those vouchers, and that's gonna give you the 3 free. And these after free RPG Days, these will be available for sale from Syrinscape.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a subscriber to the Fantasy, then that $6.50 a month will get you access and permanent ownership of those if they come out while you're a subscriber, as you own everything that comes out while you're a subscriber. Or if you're a subscriber after that date, then that'll be one of the things that unlocks. Or of course you can buy them individually, usually $3.99 for a sound set, and we'll probably make a pack of PC ones. And of course, Pathfinder being replete with fantastic options and really atmospheric sort of additions, then we've got lots of classes to cover. And also, I think we'll probably continue to develop them as well. What's really easy in Syrinscape is for me to push an update. So recently I added some wind rustling through the leaves in the Elven Vale daytime sound set. So on the Syrinscape interface, just check if there's a little red flag next to the sound set. That means there's an update available, and you can just go to the settings menu and update. Because often we're tweaking things. Sometimes I find something I don't particularly like when I'm using it myself, and I just adjust the volume of something or the timing of something, or add an element which I felt was missing. So so once we get these out, because it's kind of a brand new thing, and we really want to find out how people are using these at the table, and I'm sure people will come on and say, right, we need this sound. I want a crossbow, but that crossbow sounds too small. So we'll then start adjusting things for people so that they're getting really what they want.
Now we're not going to be. Param, did you start saying something?
Okay. I said we might be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit because conceivably, if you haven't been on the show before, you might be confused as to what Syrinscape is. So what's the 20-second elevator pitch for Syrinscape?
Syrinscape adds dynamic, completely customizable, non-repeating sound and music to your tabletop games. So they're kind of like 15-minute loop tracks, except rather than just going round and round and round and round and repeating themselves every 15 minutes, it's a completely dynamic environment where every single element, you can see that third column there, is completely independent. So when the bar fight is going on, there might be some smashing glasses, but the timing of when those glasses smash, what direction they're set in the surround spectrum, yay! And who they belt on the head is completely controllable and by you, and you can just set it off and it'll run by itself, and it creates amazing immersive atmosphere at your tabletop games.
This is one of my favorite little toys, actually.
It's very cool.
Yeah, ever since you guys introduced this, I've been just like, oh yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. The main thing Syrinscape does for our table is to really focus people's emotions and to cue those natural visceral reactions. So say you're fighting ghouls, and you've got, that was a wonderful Australian accent, wasn't it? So you're fighting ghouls, and you're hearing those sort of intestinal dripping, squelching sounds and open-throated sort of sick sounds that are typical of disease and rotting. There's an involuntary natural reaction, a fight and flight reaction, a rise in tension and excitement that happens inevitably and unavoidably with those sounds. And also as the music comes in the battle sets, there might be pounding drums which cue you to the excitement and the epicness of the situation.
Sorry, just trying to coordinate with your, with your narration there.
Yeah, so that's Syrinscape. And if you don't know what it is, then go to the website. You can download it for free and check it out without even registering or anything. And then, then you can subscribe and buy stuff and all that.
Now, you mentioned the player character sets had like sound effects and stuff. Are they also going to have player character music?
Probably not. That's right. I think the direction we're going in is to have lots and lots of one-shots, basically. So they're sort of one-shot packs. So you'll click onto your fighter, and there'll just be a whole lot of those one-shots on the right-hand side. By one-shots, I mean they're a soundboard. I think we'll probably we're imagining for the rogue we might have like a sneaking sequence or an unlocking the lock sequence.
Buttons that do nothing. Like,
that's right.
That's cool. Up on the guy.
We've worked out that we can actually do randomized dice rolls, which is really, really exciting as well. So I'm going to also be implementing an accessory where you have a picture of 2d6 and you can click on the 2d6 picture and it'll give you a random roll and then a voice saying 7 again, which is really interesting because there's a bell curve, quite a strong bell curve already on 2d6. To stop repetition happening, you're going to want a lot of versions of 7, quite a lot of versions of 6, lots and lots of versions of 8, and it was quite interesting. And I wanted to do at least two times, so there were 2 1s and 2 12s. So I ended up recording like dozens and dozens of these stupid 6, 7s, and 8s. And I think, when is this going to end? Thinking of creative ways to say 7 and 8 and 9 and get my voice actors to do that. So that's been really fun. So we'll have that in the PC sound sets for sure, and yeah, as I said, possibly like an unlock sequence. But you could randomize the result of the unlock and have a trigger trap sound, and the possibilities. Now you got me excited.
Are these going to be Pathfinder licensed, or are they?
Yeah.
They are. Okay, so could we potentially get like the Valeros grunts and like really? Yeah. So it's iconic specific.
Yep, that's precisely what we're doing. So that means the fighter is male. So for the moment, Valeros will be the fighter, and then obviously at some point in the future it would be useful to bring out a female. We're trying to keep the character sounds as generic as possible, so that they can apply to any character concept you have. So most of the wizard's sounds will be the spells, and most of the rogue sounds will be sort of the sound of a knife slipping into someone's intestines, and the unlock little tools in a lock, or the sounds of feet gently padding, or armor foley. So yeah, we don't want to make them too specific, but we did license with Paizo, and they're really excited for us to bring sound to their iconics that you can use at your table, which is really exciting.
Man, what would be amazing would be if at a convention when people are picking up their iconic, like if they're playing a Pathfinder Society game and they're using a pre-generated character, if you just had that iconic sound thing on a card that they can download and play it right away at the table. They're like, I am Valeros. I am so Valeros. I am grunting like Valeros.
That's a really obvious one. It's really, really easy for us to do. It's really because people can download the player for free on Mac or PC or Android tabs or iPads, and then we just give them a code straight away. That the code can unlock that sound for them, and they can be awesome at the table. And look, I was looking at a Bluetooth speaker the other day, which was literally this big and was really gorgeous sounding. There was no distortion. It had lots of lovely bass. So if you just have that sitting, next to your iPad or your laptop speakers are usually pretty bad, not good enough to project the lovely richness of the beautiful reverb and environmental sort of ambiance. But yeah, if just a little Bluetooth speaker, you just plug that in, like with a cable or obviously connected on Bluetooth, and then you've got enough sound just to add into the table and to project your character concept at everyone else's expense.
And that's also, the speaker is going to be really useful for the GM at any convention because it's hard enough to hear him as it is.
Yeah, That's right. I think what we found that at conventions and louder spaces, if you have a small speaker close to the ears, so if the speaker can be right, even a couple of them just right up close on the table to the listeners, then the people playing can get enough sound without that spilling out onto other people's tables, and also you can still hear the GM as well.
So you mentioned that you're going to release the Fighter, Rogue, and Wizard for your RPG Day, right?
Yeah.
A little while later, are you just going to release a flat-out better version of the Rogue one called Unchained Rogue?
Aha! Oh, doesn't the Unchained Rogue look interesting? It's like my head is exploding with all the possibilities. And look, I found it hard enough to go from 3.5 to Pathfinder and finally tease out, all the differences. And now there's more and more options, which is really cool. But what I love about Pathfinder, I was listening to the interview before, and talking about the complexity of Pathfinder. What I've really found is that as long as the player who's playing the character understands the system that they're using, so for instance, if you need to know how to turn because you're just about to turn, then as long as that one player knows how to do it and what they need to roll and they're ready to do it and they go ahead and do it, then it all works fine. So that means if you've got new players at the table, you just make sure they're playing a fighter, or one of the other simpler classes, and you've got a straightforward sort of game on your hands.
Yeah.
Plus, things like Hero Lab and spell cards and things have really changed the way the game works for us. I used to have players who go, I cast this spell. I don't know how it goes, and then you're diving for the books, and the drama grinds to a halt, and everyone checks their phones and eats some Cheezos. Cheezos! They're like Cheetos and Cheezels mixed up.
Yeah, Pathfinder is like a giant toolbox, and if you want, you only need to know how to use a hammer. And you can get
that's right.
hammer, and you can figure out different things to do with a hammer. But if you want, you can know the hammer, the ratchet, the whatever wizard thing would be. Blowtorch.
That's right. And not many. That's right. And not wanting to start any edition wars or anything, because 5th edition is fantastic and I love it. But I really felt it the other day playing. We played a couple of games of 5th edition, and it is really at the moment lacking the ability to express mechanically what I want to be able to come up with character concept-wise. So I get, there's no real advantage for the fact that I think of my character as someone who's fantastic at one particular type of task. And that's really the advantage of Pathfinder, is that it's replete with options which haven't sort of power crept in any kind of severe way, and which I'm really, really happy about. And yeah, so it's you're really able to express your ideas and find a way of making what you were imagining.
Let's go back to these character sets, because
I'm
super intrigued by them. Okay, so the first 4 will be the 4 basic ones. Where do you want to go from there?
Well, I think we have to cover all the base classes, obviously. I think probably then we have 2 options. We either start covering advanced classes and some of the really interesting things, or we cover the other gender of all the base classes, because I think that's probably quite important. Though, as I said, we'll tend to keep actual whole sentences and things out of the mix. But if you're a female fighter and you want to hit the grunt sound, but it's like someone really manly, not like me, then that doesn't really work. So I think that's probably how we're going to go. This is a new thing for us, so we'll take community feedback, and the community is never quiet in their feedback with me, which is fantastic. The only reason we make these things is because people come up with the ideas and whinge enough to make us motivated to do them.
If you had a really quiet community, that would be severely ironic.
Oh. That's right. Oh no, I'm happy. Just work quietly by yourself. It's my family who has to put up with the main noise, so I'm here sort of making horrendous, sort of blood-curdling screams, then pitch shifted down so they sound like a giant getting eviscerated. And my kids will walk past and sort of just look and sort of shake their head pityingly and move on with their normal lives.
Now, it's not just the cleric that's some PaizoCon news for you. You're going to be doing some PaizoCon DJing this year.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've done this for a couple of years at Gen Con and the last 2 years at PaizoCon, I think. And yeah, we played the Pathfinder special, which is absolutely amazing. Do we know if it's sold out yet? Are people still able to get tickets?
I don't think it's gone up for sale yet. There's
the
lottery,
cool.
which ended yesterday, and then the next thing is going to be signing up for the special and I think the games.
Yeah, so if you can, grab a spot at a table at the special. It's an amazing experience. A massive, huge, enormous room filled with dozens of GMs running encounters at the table, but it all coordinated from the front. with a really great story and a lot of fun. And yeah, we started adding Syrinscape to the room so that the actual adventures and the whole epic experience is accompanied by everything you'd want in terms of clashing drums and roars and all that. And that's been a really interesting experience to find the type of noise you can add to a room full of hundreds and hundreds of people all trying to hear each other. And I quickly discovered, for instance, you want to basically stay away from the mid-range. That's the sort of the pitches that you use when you communicate. So I can make quite a lot of noise in the bass end. So these big sort of visceral, you can almost hear them thumps that run through the room. And then what we're doing more and more this year is actually accompanying the speeches from the front. So last year at Gen Con, we started having a trumpet clarion to attract everyone's attention to the front, because that was better than the guy going, excuse me, everybody, pay attention to me. So that worked really, really nicely. And then, yeah, Syrinscape has all the, as you know, guys, all the sort of ooh and the dun dun da. So I plan to do a lot of sort of that to punctuate and make the speeches.
Oops, sorry, that was louder than I intended it to be.
Look, I am your sister. Oh no, now I'm confused. So yeah, so that'll be really fun. And look, you know, for me, it's this weird tightrope sort of walk of wanting to add to the room but also making sure I don't ruin Game Master's voices by them having to shout the entire time. So yeah, I think we worked it out pretty well for this year.
Now, are you also going to be hitting up the Gen Con crew too?
Yep. Totally, yeah. Gen Con's all ready to go. We are sharing a booth. We're right next to Realmworks and those guys and Hero Lab. It's an obvious common audience, so you know, after people have checked out one of our stands, they can just move you on over to the next stand and check them out as well. And that's really exciting to be sharing with them, because I love Hero Lab. It's completely, well, it's basically made Pathfinder possible for me with my busy life and you know, exciting career. And it's just one of the best things about Hero Lab is that you don't miss bonuses, you know, and you don't miss your favorite class bonus. Like, you actually can look through and make sure you've been thorough. So yeah, that's really exciting. So we'll be at Gen Con, we'll be GMing the special, we'll be doing all sorts of really amazing stuff there, which I'm just trying to think of which ones we've announced and which ones we haven't. I'll be on some, both at Gen Con and PaizoCon, I'll be on several panels talking about digital gaming aids and how I believe they should work and how they can add to the game, and you know, all those issues about how to let these things enhance the actual point of why we're getting together, which is for social gaming, and not take over, and yeah, how to deal with those sort of integration and making things more and more intense and more better.
Now, I was making some jokes about how to incorporate Syrinscape and Hero Lab earlier, but one of the things now with the character packs, it feels like I actually would need to dedicate one device to two different things that I would want to be running at the same time. So, like, is there any way that I could just have the Syrinscape tab in Hero Lab?
We are working on integration on a number of fronts at the moment, and it's actually looking like it's going to be a straightforward kind of thing to do. Not necessarily integrating software together to sort of complicate two separate development lines, but perhaps ways of setting things off from one device, from one program through to the other without having to leave programs. That's sort of where we're up to at the moment with a number of companies. And yeah, so that's really important for us. So you don't have to be sort of jumping and tabbing out of things and you know, browsing through different programs and bringing things up and then letting your eyes adjust and then finding the place and then clicking on it. So for us, if you could be in programs such as you've previously mentioned, and other assisting devices, and maybe just click on some sort of hyperlink that sets a reaction off in Syrinscape without even having to go over to it. That would be really great for us.
So wait.
Plus,
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
So, all right. Let's say I'm Valoros and I want to power attack. I could potentially just click power attack in Hero Lab or some program, and it would automatically cue the power attack sound from my character pack.
That's what we're working on, the ability to do that. And it's the sort of thing that computers can do. So it's just a matter of working out the best way to do it and the easiest way to do it, and that's what we're working towards. And we can't announce anything at the moment, but you know, it's looking like quite a possible thing, which is really, really cool. Even perhaps in we've actually the way it's looking is you might be able to do it in quite a global way with Syrinscape, and quite open to lots of different software sort of companies to be able to integrate sort of things that will control Syrinscape from a distance. We've always intended to make Syrinscape controllable by theatrical lighting systems, for instance. So you can send a message, a programmed light change in your theater, and Syrinscape will immediately flip over to a New Forest sound set. Or then you can hit, Q17 when the guy on stage raises his hands and laughs, and Q17, as well as making a lighting change and setting off a strobe and a green flash, will also set off a sound in Syrinscape. So that's one of the big intentions that we're meaning to go for. So if you go to Storm and give me a crash of lightning, Aram.
Where's the storm?
Under S in alphabetical order.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
There's some features that we're wanting to really make sure that people are aware. Like, for instance, are you guys aware that you can organize those sound sets on the left-hand column?
No,
now?
I was not aware I could do that.
So if you click on that word, all sound sets at the top, you see a selection there. At the moment, you just see purchased and unpurchased. But if you go to your account online, Param, at any time and just click on campaigns, you can actually make so-called campaigns and that actually is a complete ordering of all the sound sets that you own in that left-hand column. So you could drag in a storm, like a village, and then a storm, and then a dragon attack, and then a village, and then a ghoul attack, and then a village. And that'll actually order those sound sets in the left, just those 7 that you need for today's game. And that'll actually really, because it's just got ridiculous. There's so much content in there now that scrolling through an alphabetical list that's 10 miles long is not really any fun. So that's a really, really good feature that people were whinging for a long time. What's really cool is with the next release of Syrinscape.
I found the storm.
Yay!
Sorry.
Woo! With the next update to our website, which we'll be announcing probably next week, you'll be able to actually share those campaigns. And I'm really, really excited about this. So, say you have played a Pathfinder Society module, Attack of the Zombie Costellos, and you've worked out that if you use this sound set and this sound set and this sound set and this sound set, just those 5 sound sets, that's all the content you need. Then you can actually save that as your own personal campaign, so it'll appear in your player. But then you'll be able to share a link, as of next week, hopefully, share a link to that campaign so that anyone who's playing Attack of the Zombie Costellos will be able to actually click that, and it gets imported into their Syrinscape player. So then they can click and bring up that prepared sequence of events. So it's a way of us supporting gajillions of modules from all over the world. So whether they be, Pathfinder Society ones or home campaigns or third-party publishers, and you'll have the setup ready to go to just reduce that preparation time for the GM.
Now you'll still need to own those sound sets?
That's right, yeah. So from our point of view, absolutely. If you bring up a campaign and you see that you own 3 of them but there are 2 missing, maybe that's where you just think, oh, this is dumb. I'm going to use this lot, so I'll just become a subscriber. And then, of course, for subscribers, everything unlocks completely, so you don't have that issue of having to pick and choose what you need to own.
Something came up in my game that I think you need to work on something for me.
Right.
Okay.
Book 2 of Rise of the Runelords, there's the transitions from one part to another aren't obvious, and it feels like I don't have any making decisions of how to go forward music. Like, I just want some kind of theme, something that'll really add tension for them to know that, okay, there's nothing happening right in front of their faces, but they need to get their act together and figure out where the next hook is.
Yeah, that's cool. So so you mean let's make a one-shot with a theme that maybe plays for 30 seconds, which is kind of like okay, so let's move on. You need to look in new directions.
No, I want something that slowly builds to the pressure and points out that it's you guys.
Okay, cool.
So lost right now, and I don't want to just keep repeating the hooks that you're missing. So let's just let the music do the talking for me.
That's easy. So over the course of how many minutes do you reckon?
Oh, I hope less than an hour. I don't know. Let's say that's usually how long it would take for someone to bring up the right.
Yeah. So we could actually have a sequence then, rather than we could have a sequence of moods, which one is kind of do 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 do, and the next one, then once you're slightly sick of them faffing around almost completely pointlessly, do 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 do, and then just basically ramp up that sort of harmonic tension more and more until they think, oh my god, we're going to do something, he's going to kill us. Okay, that's doable. I'll work on that. As I said, it's really easy to push updates, like the Hero Lab guys were saying. It's really easy to push an update to content. And suggestions from real play experiences are totally invaluable. So
taking advantage of our relationship by just getting you to design something specifically for me.
Specifically, asking me on air where my options are. We're going to totally do that, and no, we don't care for our customers. Or appreciate their input. That's right.
I have a less selfish suggestion, but now that you're mentioning bringing our players in with their own sound sets, I would like to see some way for in the future for it to shuffle together into the same output so that they might click Fireball on their iPad, and then it plays on my sound system that I bothered to put in the game room.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So if you could toss a Fireball at the GM's device or something, that'd be really cool. And this is the sort of suggestion that makes smoke start coming out of my developers' ears. But we are moving towards a server-based system where that if you want to play, for instance, online, the GM will have a master system where he's setting off the sounds, and sure, that goes out to his stereo system, but also just sends play this sound, play this sound, play this sound, play this sound to a server. So rather than cramming the beautiful high-quality Syrinscape audio down a pipe, actually the people then have slave Syrinscapes, which then just receive those signals, and those sounds get set off. And so that actually makes it quite easy then for that slave version to then be able to push a server to the Dungeon Master's device, and then if you're in the same room, then we'll all hear it come over the big stereo system. So it's actually quite possible.
Do we have to call them slave systems? Couldn't they be companions, familiars, something like that?
We have a philosophy in my company that we always always start development on a product, talk about it for about 3 months, and then change its name. So the Syrinscape Sounds at Creator was called the editor. So now internally it's pretty much called the editor creator. The creator editor. So
creator is a great name for it.
Right. So hopefully I'll call this the slave system for long enough just to really embed it in my brain, so that then when we change it to something that's more user friendly, I'll be completely confused. So.
I can tell that Ryan's been reading too much of Pirate's Promise if he's objecting to slave references.
Oh, nice.
Rise of the Rune Lords is done, right? You've got the
Rise of the Rune Lords is completely done and dusted. So I did the final death moment of a rather large, non-spoiling sort of baddie, which was fantastic and spectacular. I got my voice actor who's been doing all those sounds back in again, and we sort of backed and forth a bit with Paizo to get the right sort of howl. That character's interesting. That character's been presenting himself almost Wizard of Oz as this super powerful mega force. And when you actually physically get in the same room as him, of course, he's not actually, it's just spoilers, he's not actually a giant of any kind. So that it was really interesting then doing the voice acting and mixing for him. The first iteration I sent through to Paizo, they were like, yeah, well, he's not actually a giant. We've had all these stone giants and hill giants and all these sorts of things. This guy's, not a giant. And so that was really cool. So finding the right sort of pitch for him, and then, doing his big destruction moment was fantastic. And it's really just quite descriptive in the module. There's a big flash of light, so I had sort of, ground-shaking rumbles going on. So if you can possibly get through Rise of the Rune Lords and get to those final moments, it's well worth it to be able to touch that one shot. So Rise of the Rune Lords is completely done and dusted, and we'll be, I'll just anticipate your next question, we'll be doing, actually, for the next release, we'll be doing Dragon's Demand, which is a single one, a single module, which is quite a famous and well-loved module. So we'll do that coming out in June, so I'm working on that at the moment. And then after that, we have an as-yet announced adventure path, which we'll be heading off on, which I'm really, really excited about, but can't tell you anything at all.
You just wanted to make more dragon sounds. There are 5 dragon sound sets here already.
That's right. I'm just going through the colours. I'm just heading through those colours, and that's great. I mean, they're all just completely distinctive in their breath weapon in particular, and so we're doing similar audio processing to each of the dragons, but getting really different sources in terms of my voice actors, and that sort of really does a complete different sort of flavour for each one, which is cool.
What made you choose Dragon's Demand?
We discussed it. We decided that we wanted to release 2 months after June for particular timing reasons, and so we thought it might be fun just to cover a single module. And Dragon's Demand was beloved of several of the Paizo staff, and it's something they're very fond of. And it's quite a good introduction module as well for Pathfinder players. It's quite meaty. It's not like just like a Goblin's sort of one evening kind of thing. It can definitely go over multiple evenings, but it starts at first level, obviously. So it's something people can really get access to. Whereas you certainly can't introduce the characters to the complexity that's required to run your 17th level Pathfinder characters with any kind of hope of defeating the bad guys in the final chapters of Rise of the Runelords.
Yeah, every time I have to bring in high-level characters for newbies, because campaigns rotate players. It's like, okay, welcome to the game. Yeah. You're a fighter.
That's right, totally, absolutely. The rogue is doable as well, but they will play them really suboptimally for quite a while, until they start to work out they can actually be awesome. So yeah, fighter's a really good place to start. And with some of the stuff we're going to talk about is coming soon, some of the feats that they put in to get rid of iterative attacks actually makes it really simple as well.
Now, this future AP you're going to be working on, can you at least tell us, is it going to be a classic or is it going to be one of the newer ones?
Can I? I don't think I can. La 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 la, and I I don't think I can. Yeah, okay. I mean we're set on it and everything. We just we're meant to release these, make these announcements. We'll come back and we'll give you a scoop so you can talk about it. Make sure you have a good heads up on it so you can tell your audience about it when we're ready to talk. It's going to be cool. It's going to be good, and people will like it. How's that? That's amazing information, which you couldn't have got anywhere else.
That sounds good. I've got a guess, but I think I'll wait until you log off so that your face doesn't give anything away.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Unless you want me to make my guess.
No,
definitely not. No, I'm terrible. I would be terrible. My wife will tell you that lying is not a forte. It's not something I try very often at all nowadays.
All right. Then
anything else? Anything else on the Syrinscape front or your guys' front?
Just get to PaizoCon, everyone, if you possibly can. It's an amazing event which has just become bigger. It's the most beautiful, wonderful community which I love, and I really, get to PaizoCon. And one of the fun things we're doing at PaizoCon is continuing our community-sourced soundset concept. So I've got some fantastic contributions for our Peasants Revolt soundset, and you'll be able to actually come and see me working on the Peasants Revolt soundset in the Soundset Creator, which is the tool which is in final beta at the moment, which will be coming out in about 2 months, and another really strong version of that. And you'll be able to come along, grab the microphone, and make some horrendous, revolting sounds. And we're going to build up sort of that repertoire of really fantastic riotous noise. And down with the clergy and down with the local despot, and the people are going to rise up at PaizoCon noisily, and you can see me and help me build that sound set. Which then, if you come and contribute a sound at PaizoCon, then we'll give you access to that sound set for free when it's released. I'm going to use that sound set, and I already have started making the videos, which will be all the tutorials for how to use the Syrinscape Soundset Creator, with which people will be able to customize all the content within Syrinscape that they own, and also build their own sound sets for free. Build all their sound sets, which then they will be able to share on the Syrinscape Soundset community, which is really exciting. So people who are subscribers to the Soundset Creator will be able to then, as I said, for free, access everything that everyone in the community's made. So if I haven't done, orange-tinged dragons yet on a Tuesday, you can make your own dragon. And if it's awesome, everyone's going to love you, and we'll all get more stuff to play with at our tables.
How much control will the people have over choosing their sound, like the sound bite they're going to record with you at PaizoCon?
I'm going to give a lot of creative freedom. I think, I think we're also going to do this at Gen Con to create a different sound set, which we haven't announced yet, which is really, really cool. And we're actually going to have a different type of sound each day. But at PaizoCon, I'm looking for every noise you could associate with a peasant's revolt. So if you want to bring something to crush or to crash or some wood to throw yourself through an imaginary plate glass window made of tin cans, howl out in a variety of real or otherwise world accents, and so I think we're just going to source as much stuff as we can and have some fun. Hopefully noisy.
I couldn't walk up to it and be like, I have a really great Froghemoth impression.
I think you totally could.
Oh yeah.
Oh look! If you want to give me something that I can use later, absolutely. We'll give you credit on the sound set when it comes out. We'll say Froghemoths, created by Ryan.
I don't have a good Froghemoth, but just as
no! You've wet my appetite now. Yeah, I mean, look, absolutely.
Right,
anyone who ever wants to send me some stuff, something they do, it's probably one of the biggest challenges for us is to find those source sounds, to find those unique voices. I've got a voice actor whose voice has been breaking, because he's that age, over the course of the last 9 months, and it's fantastic because every time I got him back, his voice was different completely, including a couple of sessions where his voice was like this. He's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, do that, shout," and he was sort of going, "Ah!" And we used him to do the hillbilly ogres in one of the chapters of Rise of the Rune Lords, which are just so awful and weird and pathetic, and it was really great. So those unique voices, and I'm really looking forward to having some petrified peasant screams and some aggressive shouts as well. So bring those.
All right, we're going to move on to other news, but first, why don't you just remind people where they can find Syrinscape?
Yes. Me?
Sure.
Go to, that was so spontaneous and smooth. Go to Syrinscape.com, Syrinscape, as in the Syrinx, the beautiful things that sing beautifully and drag you to your death on the shores. Okay. There you can download it for free and give it a try without even registering, and you can buy some sound sets to test them out and see if you like them, or as I said, for a massive discount and a complete unlock of the entire back catalogue, and either subscribe to just the fantasy or just the sci-fi, or become a super siren, and I will send out a virtual high five to you and give us that support. There's also some links I can share with you guys to 30-day free trials, which we can add to the show notes or something, so people can actually become a pretend subscriber for 30 days, get a complete unlock of the entire thing, and decide whether it's right for them. And then when they continue with that trial, we get the support that we need to keep creating amazing content and improving the product.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yay!
Param, tell us about Pathfinder Society Unchained.
Okay, so we were really curious as to how Unchained would be incorporated into Pathfinder Society, and then we got our answer, at least partway. We know how at least the 4 classes are going to be integrated into the society, and that is the quickest, easiest way to say it is that the 4 classes in Unchained are now society legal. As of the second they put that announcement up, actually, which was abrupt. It's caught a few people by surprise. Now, for the rogue, the barbarian, and the monk, they're optional. You can play the old monk, you can play the new monk. You can play the old rogue, you can play the new rogue. And if you're playing any of those classes, you get a free rebuild if you rebuild them before you play them next. So, you don't have to rebuild them right now, but before they see a table again. And you also get one of the big deals about this rebuild is that it's a really, really generous rebuild for those levels when you swap them out. For instance, they were showing that you can swap out, if you swap out Rogue, and you can get refunded for the agility enchantment you put on your weapons because you don't need it anymore, and so on and so forth. And that's cool. But then came the big shocker, and that is that not only is the new summoner legal, he's now required. Mm-hmm. He is, if you play an Unchained summoner, Well, that's the only summoner you're allowed to create from this point forward. If you have an old summoner, they are still allowed to play as long as they have played a game above second level. So they had to have gotten to second level and participated in the table. And then you can keep those summoners if you want to, and keep those in play. But you can but also, if you choose to, you can rebuild those summoners to the new Unchained Summoners. But if you're going to create a new summoner, or you have a summoner who's just first level, he has to convert to the new Unchained Summoner.
Yeah, we've been looking at these 4 classes as patches for some problem classes, and of the 4, the only one that was really it's too strong in its base format was the Summoner. And so the fact that they're patching that to the point that the original Summoner, which not just power curve, but also just the amount of time a Summoner player takes at the table, it was causing some issues, and so this new Summoner fixes that. I assume, I don't have Pathfinder Unchained, as has been alluded to a couple of times in the podcast. I assume that this solves all those problems and is the greatest Summoner class that's ever been written. But that was definitely the intention. The intention is that the old Summoner was just too... Like, the problems with the old Summoner were just causing additional problems in Pathfinder Society, so it's been completely replaced, which was a surprise, but like you were saying, Param, and Kathy, who's in my group and has a Summoner character, was like, oh, so I have to buy Unchained now, and I have to change my Summoner. I gave her the good news that, no, you've played her after second level, so your Summoner is safe. It'll be grandfathered in, and until you retire that character, you are allowed to play that Summoner in that way, which she was happy to hear.
So, Param, if you're playing an existing rogue, you're saying you can convert over, but you don't have to. If you're going to convert over, does it have to be before the next session you play ever?
No, not the first session you play ever, but the next session you play as that character.
Okay, yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Because a complete rebuild, say at level 10 or 11, can be quite an advantage in terms of, swapping out stuff and pathways you needed to take in order to be at certain places earlier.
But basically, for most of the classes, it's actually going to be pretty straightforward. For the rogue especially, we converted one of our home game rogues over, and it took like 5 minutes. That's all it took.
Okay.
So it was super easy. Like the biggest things you want to do is, like, if you took something like Slashing Grace or Fencing Grace, or you took Weapon Focus, those things you now get for free. You don't need those feats anymore. So, you get 3 new feats for free back to your character. And, like, if you have, like, the Agile weapon or anything like that, or something that depends on one of the new rogue talents that they provided, then you just swap that piece of gear out and get a full gold refund. And we made some of those decisions, like, right now, and in some of those decisions we just was like, well, we'll figure out what to buy with that gold later, and then that gold just became gold.
Magical gold that appears. That's very cool. I wonder if Order of the Sick are going to do a similar cartoon sequence like they did when it went from 3 to 3.5. I love that. Some of the weapons changed sizes for the poor old rogue.
Yeah, the Ranger.
Yeah, the Ranger, that's right.
And the only other thing they talked about is the compatibility between the new classes in Society Play and the various archetypes, and, like, which archetypes are legal, which archetypes aren't. It's mostly good news for Rogue, Barbarian, and Summoner. Monk, it's none of the archetypes are legal for Monk.
They just changed too.
Yeah, the Monk changed the most, and even more than Summoner. I mean, the Summoner got a straight-up nerf, but it didn't change as drastically as I thought it would. I mean, you have to pick a theme now for your summon. You don't get a free reign on, making it anything at all you want. But, like, this basics of the system still sort of stood. But the Monk is just, like, a complete rebuild, just completely new class. It's all positives. There was a couple of arguments on the forums about whether or not the Monk was actually a nerf or not, and a few people didn't like some of the choices they made. But then, like, one of the developers got on, and Mark got on, and he was like, no, this, and this, and this crosses this crosses this matches this, and it turns out that the only nerf the monk gets is that one of his abilities that used to always be on, he now has to declare it is on. And then everything else is just a straight bonus or improvement.
Wow.
And are there no other rules incorporated then? Is it just the classes for PFS?
For now, this is what we know that is legal. Anything else, any of the other optional systems, we'll have to see. And I doubt that we're going to see any of the major rule changes, because that would be just too much to throw on an organized play program, like ditching iterative attacks or things like that. Though I could also see very easily in the future the variant multi-classing is probably something they could easily allow in PFS and things like that.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, there are lots of feats that allow you to just do one great big attack. One of my players uses Vicious Strike or something. I can't even remember what it's called, but he's doing that all the time. And that essentially was obviously them foreshadowing their sort of desire to be able to do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And other than that, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Other than the fact that it was unexpected. We knew let's face it, we knew these classes would be playable, but I did not expect the straight up ban of Old Summoner.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there is precedence, because they changed the races recently too, and now you can't make Azamars anymore unless you've got the boons.
But we do know that anytime the conversation of their design intentions for these classes, anytime it came up with any of the designers, they sometimes would say things like, and you have to worry about Pathfinder Society compatibility. But then when we were like, oh, so this is definitely going to be Pathfinder Society compatible, they were like, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it ended up, yes, right at the release date, right out of the gate. That's what I was looking for. Right out of the gate, the Unchained stuff is Pathfinder Society compatible. The timing is amazing. It's really appreciated.
The other Pathfinder Society news with Unchained is separate from this. It is that there is a launch event for Society at participating retailers. It has to be retailers. So see if your local gaming store, they have a special, what are they called? Not a scenario, but the adventures. The quest. They have a special quest just for this, that they have pre-gen Unchained characters, and it takes advantage of the Unchained rules. And so go there. You can play in that. Probably, I don't know for sure, but you'll probably get a cool boon sheet or something. That's usually how these happen. And that is the first time they said they're going to start doing these retailer incentive quests with the release of each of the hardbacks from here on out.
Alex Agunas went on a bit of a rant about the Unchained stuff in the chat. First of all, Jeremy corrects that you get weapon focus for free, not weapon. Weapon finesse for free, not weapon focus.
Oh, my bad.
But he is annoyed that barbarians can only take rage powers and rogues can only take rogue talents from a very narrow source, just from the things that are listed in Unchained. He says that nothing from Player's Companion is allowed, and nothing from Advanced Race Guide is allowed, which means that Catfolk rogue talents are not allowed, or he's got the Kitsune boon, or actually anyone can play Kitsune this season. They can't take their Kitsune specific race talent, rogue talents and barbarian powers. I will say this is a pretty specific case, Alex, but you do raise a good point. I'm not even looking at rebuilding my barbarian because it's Stone Throw, and he's got rage later so that he can get an animal companion at first level, and most of his rage powers have been dedicated to the animal companion. So it works just the way it is, so I'm not even going to bother worry about what the changes were to the barbarian. It's very different from the basic barbarian class, and very fun.
So I have a Zen Archer who's 7th level. Do you have any idea whether I should be looking to rebuild him or just keep playing?
If he's a Zen Archer, keep playing, because
none of the monk archetypes are allowed. You would basically be turning him to a regular Joe monk.
And that might be one of the few monks that work powerful as is. I mean, we over-exaggerate it, but when Ultimate Combat came out, it was possible. Ultimate Combat, quote-unquote, fixed monk, and made him not terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, New Monk is better than Core Rulebook Monk. But no, don't. If you're playing the Zen Archer,
cool.
keep it.
More Pathfinder Society
He's
news.
cool.
Faction cards are now available.
Woohoo!
We've been talking about these for most of season. What are we in? Season 6? Yeah, we're in season 6. Year of the Sky Key. For most of the Year of the Sky Key, we've been talking about how these faction cards would be brought back because people just missed factions. They missed feeling like part of something and missed feeling like the faction they choose is a significant character choice in Pathfinder Society. It was slowly being phased out to the point that faction missions are only in specific scenarios, and then it's only a couple of them. People missed it. And so these faction cards solve that, and actually solve it on a really large scale, because you can use these faction cards in modules. You can use them in any way that you can use your Pathfinder Society character. You can use your faction cards. What the faction cards are, as it's been discussed in interviews and whatnot over the last few months, is that you basically have a checklist. You have a checklist of goals that, in the long term, will benefit your faction, and with few exceptions, once per scenario, you can check off one of those goals. And most of them are written fairly broadly, so it's like, kill an undead of your CR, or kill 5 ghouls. And once you've accomplished that, you check it off. And the more things that you check off, the more boons that you gain access to from your faction. It's a really innovative idea, but it's got a very straightforward, it incorporates into the game very straightforward way. So overall, I think that the faction cards are a pretty big success. The only surprise, really, the only criticism I've heard is how pretty big they are. They're 8.5 by 11 pages, whereas I think a lot of us were picturing something more of a cue card size.
Yeah.
But otherwise, gentlemen, any thoughts on the faction cards?
I like them. I kind of still wish we went all the way back to individual faction missions in each scenario. Now that we're down to just 6 factions again, I think that's manageable. It was they needed to do something. When it was 10 factions, that was too much, just way too much to try to slam into each module. But I kind of wish we go all the way back, because I had my most fun with the factions back when you were guaranteed a mission. But this is a cool thing. It's a good compromise. And oddly enough, it makes the factions work more like the actual faction rules for Pathfinder that barely get used anymore for anything.
Yeah, while I liked the original system for factions, I didn't like the original factions. I didn't like that they were all tied to regions, and it just felt too nationalist to me. Whereas the later factions that were more thematic, I liked those, but like you said, there were too many of them. And then the next iteration of the rules limited their impact on the game. I think this might be the sweetest spot we've been into now. It's cool thematic factions, simple to implement, but it brings out your faction in every scenario.
And there was the weird thing where everyone kind of had a secret sort of mission that they wanted to kind of achieve, which was sometimes slightly at odds with what other people were trying to achieve, and sometimes someone would start role-playing or doing something and you wouldn't quite know, so it kind of made it a kind of bit like a reality TV show, kind of how to host a murder kind of secret. What am I saying here? Oh, well, I might just go and check this, which I didn't really like the flavor of so much.
It would work if there was like the one sneaky faction. But when Edwin and the guys trying to free the slaves are also trying to subtly free the slaves, it's weird.
Yeah, that's what I found.
All right.
The next,
in fact, actually, just because my brain was turning over. So, in fact, if you know that your partner has a kind of a life mission or a faction mission or a philosophical bent to wanting to achieve certain things, like like free a slave given the opportunity, then actually now the players can be working to help each other fulfill their own sort of desires, which is actually kind of nice, and that plays into those lovely concepts in role-playing where you can have a player, sure, you're playing a campaign, but we also know that they're trying to recover the sword of their father, and at some point, that might come into play, and we can all go, wow, this is it, and we can all sort of jump on their task and really focus on them for a little while.
Sure,
it's a bit of that.
You can set up situations where it's like, no, I have to deliver the killing blow to this specific monster type, and then maybe a PC dies in the next initiative before it gets to the PC who needed to kill the guy, and they're like, this is on you. Your faction is so important.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
We're forever trying to get Nathan, who wields a whip that does 1d3 minus 1 damage to take away the last 1 or 2 hit points of monsters. It's become a running joke. He's a bard. Does lots of fantastic buffing, which makes us very awesome. But yeah, actually nailing him down to take down a big creature can be very difficult sometimes.
Next up, we're just sort of talking about this one because it confused us when it was first announced, so we just wanted to see what actually got made. Battle Foam announced that it was partnering with Pathfinder, which confused us because Pathfinder has minis, but they're plastic usually. But so here it is, the Battle Foam bag for Pathfinder.
Now, this is a mock-up. It's going to be available late spring, but this is the idea. This is what it's going to look like. It's got all this section for books, dice, whatnot, and a whole bunch of sections for miniatures.
Right. Which is a cool thing. Battle Foam makes really good bags. A lot of my friends use their bags for Warhammer, War Machine, and all that jazz. And it looks like it's a cool bag. The sides of this thing are hard. Actually, they're not soft. So if you hit one, it'll like knock and that sort of thing. Most of the people that I've talked to about this are saying that they will probably swap out most of those miniature trays and use that for more book space. And that's probably what I would do too if I end up buying this bag. We don't know the retail, but retail for similar bags of what we see here is somewhere around the 140, 160 range in US dollars. And it's a cool thing. We just wanted this, this is sort of what they're going for, so that's why we're talking about it. So for those of you listening, it is a big black bag, because we have audio listeners. It is a big black bag, which the top and front side of it come away, revealing foam trays stacked up on 2 on each side. The back of it unzips, revealing a compartment that is extra thick to store some books, and it has pouches and pencil holders and the various things you think that a role-playing bag should have. Now, it also has the stacking system, if this is to be believed. The Battle Foam bags will stack and lock into each other.
Param, when you and I were discussing this, it spun off into what we call content territory, where this conversation's better saved for the podcast.
Right.
So I was saying that this would have been a great product 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe at the launch of Pathfinder Minis. But now, with more people using products like Hero Lab, people don't need to carry as many books on them. And with pawns being so compact and useful, I also question just how much miniature space people need. So I just wonder if this is a product that's just too late for its audience.
I think you overestimate the percentages there. The pawn stuff, maybe, because the pawn stuff is just fantastic. But I find that most people still use books, or at least in my experience. And where I see a lot of people not using books are conventions and PFS tables, where you have to go to things and you have to take stuff there, and then that's when iPads loaded with Hero Labs and PDFs become much, much awesomer, because even when I go to conventions, I load my iPad up. I don't haul the books. But the game stores are still selling the books. Most players are introduced to this at game stores where there are books. And even though Paizo is digital friendly and has made great partnerships with people like Hero Lab and Syrinscape, and I still say they're still slightly lagged behind on the digital front, because their form of books is still purchase this PDF separately and it gets added to a library, and they have the awesome PRD, but it seems like all the really cool digital stuff that's happening with Pathfinder is done by third parties outside of the fact. And I still say people love miniatures because look what happened to Bones and then Bones 2, and I know that the miniature line keeps selling out, and there's a reason Setiel's $40 on eBay.
Mm. Yeah, I have a real distinct dislike for some reason of pawns, and yeah, so we really love miniatures, and some of those high detail models of particularly the iconics are quite fragile. So I've got various different hacked solutions of this. And what's interesting, though, is that when I go and play, we usually try and play Pathfinder at my house if we're going to play Pathfinder, but if I have to go somewhere else, I have literally a car full of stuff. I like to keep my maps flat, so I have a great big, sort of world-sized flat binder with those all in. And I usually take a massive big shopping bag of books because I really love them. I mean, though I often print out stuff from this SID as well. And yeah, I bring a massive box of miniatures because I love my players to be able to go wherever. So I was like, oh, take that miniature and that one and all of them. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. I mean, the price is huge for an Australian now. The Australian dollar is at something like 75 cents at the moment to the US, so that's going to be a real killer. So interesting. It looks nice, though. Huh?
The Canadian dollar is about there too.
Yeah. Whoa. So that's a lot of money, isn't it, for us? That's another 25% on,
It is.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to end up getting this.
Mm.
I'm even on the fence on getting this. And Ryan, you have been there with me on the multiple occasions on the podcast I have talked about building the ultimate RPG bag. Mm-hmm. And there's been the ultimate RPG bag. There's been the ultimate RPG bag 2, the ultimate RPG bag 3 that have been found and used and constructed on this very show. And even I'm like, I'm not really sure I want to do a giant bag. But then again, my desire for a giant bag to carry a lot of role-playing stuff is inversely proportional to my use of a game room. So my desire to use the giant bags has dropped off significantly now that I have a dedicated play space. But if I was traveling again, this would be a much more appealing solution.
Yeah. That's my gaming homebody. I play in my basement, or if I go and play my Kingmaker game, it has their own set of books. Any of my relevant stuff, I just leave there on our shelves. So I bring my dice with me. That's it. Dice in the laptop.
And I do say,
Sorry.
I can.
I wonder if this bag will fly. Oh, we did it twice. Sorry. I wonder if this bag will fly on airplanes, or will it be destroyed, or will it be completely unpacked and searched?
The battle foam bags are specifically designed with airplane travel in mind, because of the fact that they usually are used to transport wargame miniatures that cost a whole lot more than your average Pathfinder collection.
Yeah. Cool. Now you say what you were going to say.
Oh, I said that even in my most dedicated state of Pathfinder-y traveliness, I would never need that many miniatures. Like, even if I was running like a whole, like, a tier 1 GM volunteers worth of sessions at high level at Gen Con, like 4 solid days of nothing but gaming, I would not need that many miniatures.
A couple of interesting quotes from chat. Bastille says the battle foam bag is like a wallet for your Pathfinder.
Okay.
And Bard Wannabe says some of us spent too much money on Bones Kickstarters to use pawns.
Yes.
Yeah, but have they painted them all? Have they painted them all? I mean, my God, you'd be painting all century.
All their bones. It's in sure of it.
I have painted one bone. No, 3. I've painted 3 bones.
Hey, there you go.
3 bones.
Hey. I hope they're not the 3 leg bones of one single skeleton. No.
No. I painted the Chaos Warrior, the Lizard Folk Warrior, and the Paladin that has this torch. Yeah, so not even a cool big bone. But I did place the order. I did not get into Bones 2 because simply I'd never finished painting all my Bones 1s, so I was like, don't need another stack of miniatures I'm not painting. But I did just order Kaijira.
Yes,
because that must be done.
I have glued Kaijira together, and he fell apart.
Oh.
His legs fell off. So I've got to glue him. The problem is he's got such big leg joints that I can't pin them because there's just so much empty space. So I got to figure out a way. Oh, what do we have here, Ben? Yeah, I've got to figure a way to keep those legs on.
Well, what about using a two-part epoxy?
Maybe.
Is
Yeah,
that
you didn't paint
does
that.
Ben have? Oh,
That's my recent purchase from Gamma, which I was very pleased with.
It is a
Even the Pathfinder.
terrifying and just a little off-putting miniature.
what is it? What is it for?
Jim Hazian Dean? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
It's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It's as big as my head almost. And that's saying
Non-dragon?
something. Yeah, I think so, because he's like gargantuan.
Yeah. I think it's their only
Neat, yeah.
non-dragon gargantuan miniature.
No,
Cool.
no. There's
No?
the
Rune
rune
giants.
giants are gargantuan.
Oh, yeah, of course.
you're right.
Yeah, and Orcus is gargantuan.
Orcus is not Pathfinder battles, though.
Oh, this is true. They need to make Cthulhu. He's in the book. He counts.
Yeah, that's right.
Except for his book form isn't as big as he appeared in Skull and Shackles, because the picture of him in Skull and Shackles was just nuts.
Yeah.
All right. And finally,
Just going to interrupt the news with Ben. Bard Wannabe has a question for you, Ben. Can my character have his own Wagnerian leitmotif? I don't know if
Wagnerian leitmotif. So a leitmotif is a piece of music that we associate with a particular emotional state or dramatic state. And a very well-known one is the Jaws theme. You know, if I go da-dum, 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 dum, 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 it cues an instant reaction. If you're in the water, you think a shark might be there. If you're just in your room, you think maybe someone's coming through the door with an axe. And so that's a leitmotif. And Wagner was the one who kind of really focused in on that concept, and that's actually quite a good idea. Yeah, so we could have musical stings or cues, like the James Bond moment. You know, when you do something awesome, a peal of trumpets, or you could even you could have your bard. You could have for your bard who specializes in puns or something. So that's a great idea. Yeah. So keep those suggestions coming, everyone, because we're literally building them at the moment.
I'm glad I didn't shy away from asking a question that I couldn't pronounce then.
That's right. That's absolutely fine.
Baron, what's the last bit of news?
the last bit of news is that Liz Courts from Paizo, former Were Cabbages, Cookie Monster, and Awesome. Ought to mention one of the co-founders of Wayfinder, one of the beginnering driving forces that helped with PaizoCon. Gosh, there's a lot of accolades in her past. But Liz Courts, who currently works for Paizo, has been promoted to community manager. And evidently Paizo is forming a community team to help with community relations, and she will be leading said team. So congratulations, Liz! You are awesome.
It makes total sense. She's still one of us. Like, she's still one of the fans, even though she's working for Paizo for years now. It's been 5 years that Liz has been working there?
Yeah, she on the third year. That's when she was hired. So that would be 5 years, yes.
So, yeah, she's been working there for the longest time. She still runs the chat room, I believe. It's been a little while since I've been active in the chat room, but she's active on the forums, on Facebook. She'll often just like posts that I make on our No Direction wall. It's not just her doing her job. It's her as a fan and someone who is involved in the community. So putting her in charge of the community from Paizo's point of view makes absolute sense. There's no one better for the job.
And as we know it, she is currently on vacation, so she probably won't hear this message for a little while. But congratulations, Liz. All right, and that wraps up the news segment this week, guys. When we be back, it will be with reviews.
Oh, wait, but Ben won't be back with us.
No.
So, Ben, thanks for joining us. Anything you want to shout out to before you go?
Just hi to all my friends and family, and thanks to my mom for all her support. No. Hi, everyone. Totally, if you have ideas about what we should build and how we should build it, it's the community that's made Syrinscape really awesome, and thank you so much. Particularly, I'll shout out to all my subscribers. You are literally the people who keep the company pumping over and keep the future looking real and exciting. So see you all at PaizoCon if I can see you there. See you at Gen Con or UK Games Expo, which is going to be really, really fun. We're doing the special there as well. And make sure you come and shake my hand and say hi.
Cool. Looking forward to seeing you at PaizoCon and participating in your terrified crowd.
Excellent.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye. I'll disconnect.
Oh, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excellent. Bye, guys.
Bye. All right, Param. This episode's getting long.
Okay.
And the reviews are... 500 Tales book, I think we can review fairly quickly because it's a simple... I mean, it's pirates. And
yeah, and we had the author on.
Yeah. Strategy guide. Do you think you could do the strategy guide in 10 minutes?
No.
9?
It's a hardcover. No.
How long do you think you need? We're definitely not going to do we're not going to do Unchained.
No. That's like an episode.
Yeah.
Like just going through, because Unchained, we need to just basically go through each freaking section, and it is all crunch. It is all crunch. So yeah, we will not do that. Okay, yeah, I'll give us a crack at doing a quick strategy guide. I mean, we had some of the authors on here talking about it, so I can just sort of go over my opinions on it. Let me grab it. Where'd I put it? Oh, there. Okay. Ready? I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. In the Read Magic segment, we read over the books that are coming from Paizo, books for the Pathfinder role-playing game that might be of interest to you. And we've got a big one in this Read Magic segment. We always look forward to the new hardcovers. And this is a particular hardcover we've been looking forward to for a long time now. The long delayed, but now finally here and officially real, Pathfinder RPG Strategy Guide.
It's real, guys. It's real. I'm holding it.
I have not picked up my copy yet, Param, but you have. So why don't you tell us what's so great about the Strategy Guide?
Okay, well, the strategy guide, basically the sales pitch for the strategy guide is the hardest part of talking about the strategy guide. But what this is a new player's guide to understanding Pathfinder. And this is different from the beginner box, which is a new player's guide to role-playing games. So this assumes that you either know role-playing games or you are going to be joining a group, and more importantly, you're going to be playing the full-fledged Pathfinder, not the beginner box version of Pathfinder that has been slightly simplified. And what this does is it gives you most of this book is advice on how to build a good character, some of the common themes, and sorts of walks you through the choices you can make and why you would, and most importantly, why you would want to make these choices. So it does a really great job of flow charting you through Pathfinder. And that's basically what this book is one massive flow chart to the rules of Pathfinder. It is laid out very visually. There's lots of iconic-ish art. It is very simple to read, and it has lots of blowout charts and sidebars and graphics and very consistent iconography that makes it very easy to follow, and it will walk you through how to keep building a character all the way from first level through 20th level of a character, and advice on what you can think about taking for them. It never makes the mistake of saying, "Thou shalt. This is it." It always says, this is a good idea, and this is why this is a good idea for this particular concept that you are doing.
What makes art iconic-ish?
Okay, I said iconic-ish art, specifically referring to the iconics themselves. They show up in the art, obviously, but one of the things it did is for every class, there's usually 2 or 3 different ways to build it presented here. And instead of presenting them as options, they actually named them as themes. but almost as if they were classes in themselves. So you have things like the Angel-born, the Archer, the Animal Friend, the Fire-blooded, and so they actually named the concept. And for each of the concepts, they actually have a piece of art for it, of the character that is that concept. So these little, I call them iconic ishes, because they're not really true iconics, but by using those characters to sort of illustrate the concepts throughout the book, it sort of helps, drive that home. And again, also iconic-ish, because literally there are little icons for each of the character concepts. So, like for instance, if you go to the fighter, which I forget where the fighter is, Ranger, Druid. I passed him up. Okay, let's the Druid, because I found Druid right here. You've got the Animal Friend, the Fury, and the Nature's Warrior. And so as you level, it goes through how to create it, but then as you go through the level up process, and actually has a little chart for each and every one of the 20 levels, it has like the icons next, like here's the Fury icon or the Animal Friend icon, and it says you might want to consider these feats for an Animal Friend because they'll help you. And then, here if you're a Fury, and this is, which is, was it supposed to be furry? No, still Fury, but it is the transforming Druid. And so, the icons are present everywhere time it talks about them. So it visually connects you with the concept as well as writing it out. This makes it very easy to follow and very, very new people friendly, because this is not intimidating. This book, flipping through it, I found everything super easy to follow, everything super easy to understand. It corrected rules that I have been doing wrong.
Like what?
One of the rules it corrected that I had been doing wrong is the 5-foot step, which I always knew you could take a 5-foot step when you took a full round action, and then the most common uses of the 5-foot step. But then it said that if you use your move action to do anything else that isn't moving, you can still take a 5-foot step, such as drawing your weapon or opening a door. And I did not know that was an option for a 5-foot step.
Yeah, any move action that is not movement. Or sorry, let's reverse that. Any move action that is movement invalidates the 5-foot step.
Right. But you still, so the 5-foot step's always been a weird rule. But then I'm like, hey, holy crap, even I've been playing that rule wrong for 20 years. So there. And if it could teach me that I did something wrong, because it very clearly laid everything out, it can definitely teach a player. That's the meat of this book, are those class breakdowns, where at the beginning it has your typical, this is role playing, this is what the 20-sided dice is, the real newbie friendly version of an intro. But the meat of this book is, here are these character concepts, and here is you leveling up these characters to 20th level and the types of decisions you might want to make. And that is almost all of this book. And then at the back of the book, it goes through how to do combat, including a whole chapter called Your Turn, which is a great chapter. And so it's your turn. What do you want to do? Here's a giant flow chart and references for all the cool things you might want to consider during your turn.
Cool. And is any other advice in there that you hadn't considered?
It helped me. I don't play a lot of fighters, so it actually, reading through the fighter build, I have a fighter NPC that's sort of just a support character for an understaffed party in one of my campaigns. And so it walked me through, hey, you might want to consider taking this feat. And I actually made some feat decision choices on running a fighter because, it's not one I'm super strong at. So now my shield fighter has 2-weapon fighting and shield bash and takes advantage of the shield half of that equation a lot more than she would have normally.
That's cool. You know what? I'm always struggling whenever I have an NPC caster, because just the way of thinking a caster is so much different from how I usually play my warrior usually characters. So this is not a book I was super excited about, and it was one of those things that I figured would eventually find its way onto my shelf. But now I'm starting to finally see what value it has to me as someone who's not introducing new people to the game and needs no introduction to the game myself. So other than it being a pretty book, I knew I was going to get a really good-looking book out of it. But that's starting to make me think of functional reasons that I should own this book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And that's how I intend to use it. I intend to use it like when I'm running character concepts that I don't run often. For instance, I don't run caster clerics very often, so I will look at this book when it's time for a caster cleric to appear. Usually when I run clerics, I run battle clerics because battle clerics are awesome. They're very easy to make, and they're very effective. And like fighters, I don't run fighters often, which is I always say fighter is the simplest class, but it's also the class with the most access to possible builds of any of the other classes because of the massive amount of feats and archetypes it has access to. Now that is one thing that now we're talking about just a little bit of the negative, and even then it's unfair for me to really point this out. But this is core rulebook only, and like core rulebook only. So some things that have been fixed or are really cool, like if you want to play a fighter that wants to actually be like an MMO tank character, one of the feats you're going to want to get is Antagonize. But Antagonize doesn't appear in the core rulebook. It's in Ultimate Magic. The weirdest place on earth for it to be, but that's where it is. Like, that should have been in Ultimate Combat. I will say that till my grave. But still, Antagonize. Awesome feat. It is in Ultimate Magic. And that's not going to be referenced in a book that sticks to the core rulebook. And I know why it does stick to the core rulebook, because otherwise there's no way it would be this thin.
How thin is it? It looks thinner than your average hardcover.
It is. It is super thin. It is, pages? Yeah, less than 2. It is 160 pages. It is also cheaper than your typical hardback at $29.99 instead of $39.99. And honestly, because of like, I'm going to keep one of these handy for new players and inexperienced players, and especially during level up. I have already been, hey, it's level up time. Sunk. Mm-hmm. Here you go. Start reading through this, because it really makes it super easy. Super easy. There's like a little chart at the front of the level up things. It's like, instead of saying like you now have a BAB of 16, it goes increase your BAB by +1. Now you also get a second attack this level. Increase your fortitude by +1. You get a bonus feat now, instead of like you referencing the charts. So it's super friendly. It does a great job. Also in the back, it has some of the play style notes, like, a lot of this focuses on the combat side of things because that's the super crunchy, but then it has whole sections on, hey, here's some ideas on what to do during a diplomacy section. And here's some ways you can help out in diplomacy if you're not a diplomacy-focused character. Barbarian. Chapter. Oh, and in the combat chapter, it also has like combat tactics laid out. So like it goes, scenario, the enemy has an extremely high AC and you can't hit it. You might want to consider buffing your party. Did you know you can take aid another to help one of your fighters hit the target with a high AC? Consider flanking them and aiding another to make that bonus even higher. Like lots of little tidbits like that we've picked up over years of playing that is not instantly obvious to a new player.
Yeah, aid another is so good. Mm-hmm. So often overlooked. Mm-hmm. Now, other times that there have been strategy guides for RPGs, the suggestions are not always great. How do you feel like the value of the suggestions are in here?
I have not disagreed with most of the suggestions. None of the suggestions are horrible. Okay. Like, or at least that I have seen. Like, I haven't seen the flat out, this would break your character if you took this. Mm-hmm. There's some of the suggestions I disagree with, but aren't bad. Like, it recommends that a first level wizard take Magic Missile. And I will always say that is a bad idea. Magic Missile is for high level wizards. but at the same time, it's iconic spell of the game and that sort of thing. But most of the part, it is like solid advice. It's built by people who have played the game and know the tactics and know what's used. There's not game mastery traps in here. If you remember the famous admission from Monty Cook that he purposely built bad options into 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons on so that people who knew the system could build better characters than people who didn't. There's none of that in here. Of course, there's none. They tried to take all that out of Pathfinder to begin with. So overall,
Yep.
So overall, if you are a new player to Pathfinder and you are unexperienced at the game, this is a good buy. It is a little bit pricey, but also if it is a good investment, I think, for a hard copy, but I like hard copies. But the $10 PDF is a totally legit way to go to get this book if you want to. It's a great visual breakdown of how to play the game. If you are a GM that has often new players, I would also recommend it as a buy to keep on your reference shelf to let those players use when they're joining your table. But if you're an experienced player playing with pure experienced players, it's not a solid buy. I mean, this was not written for you. I found cool things in it. It is useful to me to find out some cool things, but overall, not written for an experienced audience.
Let's talk about Pirate's Honor.
Pirate's Honor! No,
Pirate's Promise.
no, the next one.
Yeah, sorry. Pirate's Honor was the first one. Pirate's Promise is the second one in the Pirate series by Chris A. Jackson.
Yeah.
And this one actually is making this feel like a series.
Yeah.
Like, let's compare it to Varian Jaeger and Radovan. They've had 4 books together now. Mm-hmm. Every book is standalone, and anytime that there's a later revelation, like there were some revelations about Radovan, actually in every book, but Jaeger had some very specific ones in each book. Mm-hmm. Each one felt specific to that story and didn't have like backwards implications, except maybe some of the ones in Kings of Chaos. Pirate's Promise adds value to Pirate's Honor. It adds new context that makes scenes from Pirate's Honor make more sense and just are better.
Yes.
This is one of the weird things, though. I have a hard time summarizing this book because it feels like it only really starts halfway through, but the stuff in the first half of the book is amazing. It's focused. So, taking a step back, the main characters in Pirate's Honor were Torius Vin and Celeste. Torius Vin is the pirate captain. Celeste is his navigator. She's a lunar naga. They are in a relationship that's a secret, and he's addicted to her poison. This is something that apparently comes up often. And a lot of the first one was him dealing with his addiction and them dealing with their relationship. And it's a really cool book. And there was kind of this foil. Celeste's foil and Torius Vin's foil was Vreva, a courtesan that at the beginning of the book, Torius Vin has to deal with, and then at the end of the book realizes that she's the perfect person to help them out of a jam. But she just felt like a convenient character for that book, and I never expected to see her again, or maybe a couple of books down the line. But she didn't feel like a focal point to Pirate's Honor.
Right. Now, she wasn't a throwaway character. And she wasn't two-dimensional. She was a well-written character for that book, but she's definitely the B character of Pirate's Honor, not A character.
Pirate's Promise flips that. The first half of the book has a very deliberate, a very methodical pace. And the Torius Vin and Celeste stuff, they're just kind of exploring star maps and things. And, anytime the Torius Vin and Celeste chapter starts, it's like, oh, wait, what were they doing? Because the Vreva scenes are so engaging. And again, like they're written out so slowly, and you so get into Vreva's head that she becomes the most interesting character in either of the books. And that's impressive because Torius Vin is actually a fairly complicated character and one of the more interesting Pathfinder Tales characters. But what Chris A. Jackson does with Vreva, she has a relationship with an Inquisitor named Zarina But the thing is, the way it unfolds, it's like you're never sure who's playing who's actually being sincere, because one of them is a courtesan who has spy-like tendency, we'll say, and one of them is an inquisitor, excuse me, investigating Vreva, but also dating her. And Vreva's constantly like, is this a date? Or am I being interrogated very subtly, very socially? And it's never obvious to the reader exactly what is happening between these two characters. You get the context. Everything is written out. You know what's happening within the scene, but you only get Vreva's point of view, and Vreva is totally confused about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally at like chapter 13, when Torius Vin and Vreva's paths cross again, and they kind of go on this adventure related to more Vreva's problem earlier in the book than Torius Vin's this time, it's just like, that's where the plot starts, but it doesn't matter how long it took to get to the plot. I was just loving everything about Vreva and Zarina in this book.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the book was named Pirate's Promise, which, you know, makes sense, and it tries to portray, but honestly, this would have been better as Prostitute's Honor. Because she is the main character of the book, in my opinion. She really is. She's, especially for the first half of the book, she definitely is, because you're talking about Torius, Vin, and Celeste, and they have good chapters. It's good to see these characters and flesh them out. But it's basically like Vreva is doing the campaign. Vreva's on the adventure path, and Torius is rolling random encounters.
Yeah, the stakes are higher for Vreva. The encounters are more interesting, and it's an even split between the Pirates chapters and the Vreva chapters, but the pirate chapters are kind of split between Torius and Celeste, and at no point are the stakes ever particularly high in the first half of the book for those two characters. There are, you know, they engage in dramatic situations, and there's some interesting things that unfold, but it's never as interesting as what's happening with Vreva.
Mm-hmm. And no, it is not. And you're right, because what we learn about Vreva here made me go back and reread. Like, I got about halfway through this book and then had to go back and reread all of Pirate's Honor with knowing what I know now. And I appreciate Vreva a lot more than I did before. And I liked Vreva in Pirate's Honor, but like, oh crap, that scene, and you can tell it was intentional. Like, you could tell it was written that way to begin with. This wasn't something that's been retconned.
Nope. This is clearly a plan that Chris A. Jackson had all along. And I know he's got another book that's been announced. I'm just looking up if we have the title yet of it or not. I think we do. We may even have art, the cover art. But just, I'm super intrigued. And I've used a lot of, I feel like it's kind of negative language to describe the book, just because it may seem like a book called Pirate's Promise should be about the pirates. But the pirate scenes aren't bad. They're a little bit slower. They're a little lower stakes. But eventually things do tie together. And they really pick up from there. It's just that the Celeste scenes are so good. And overall, the book was such a surprise. I liked it for reasons that I did not expect to. Now, there were a couple of things that I missed from the first book. There was a lot of crew dynamic in the first book that was not there. And because of that, some of the secondary members of the crew are starting to feel more like caricatures and just kind of comic relief, which again it's not bad. It's the direction he chose to go. But I would have liked a little bit more of an ensemble stuff with the pirates. And hopefully in the future we get a couple of those characters, they get a little more fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean, the crew was definitely the B-list last time. We got to know a lot of, especially the gnome.
Yeah.
We're missing a main character. We didn't talk about Saffron. Saffron is totally a main character this time around.
Talk about Saffron.
Okay, Saffron is the first time we've seen a familiar in a novel played correctly. It really is, because most of the time they either sideline that or don't show you a point of view of that. But Saffron is Vreva's familiar, which says more than I meant to say by mentioning that. But but not much. You find that
we
out
figured
within
that out
page
early on
1.
in this book, so
Yeah.
that's not a big surprise.
But and so throughout the entire book, Saffron's pretty much there and constantly commenting and doing things that are important to the plot. So it's like, you know, it's cool. It was nice to see that. I mean, we made fun because, well, no, he very much was. Gosh, I forgot Ernst. What was his name? The dog?
Oh, it's not coming to me right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Dave Gross, for forgetting the name of the dog in your books, because he was a main character of the second one. He was a main character of yes, Master of Devils. He was literally a point of view character there, but that was a special situation, and they didn't renew that going forward, which I think was a mistake. But I'm joking there. The other books going forward probably would not have made sense with him as a Arnesette. That's his name.
There you go.
Would not have made sense with him as a point of view character. But this totally makes sense that we are getting, well, never point of view with Saffron, but definitely stream of thought with Saffron. And it's I joke, but no, it's literally one of the main characters is the familiar cat.
Well, she's kind of like Jiminy Cricket if Jiminy Cricket was a cat. And she's constantly pointing out the situations that Vrava's getting herself into, the things that could happen if she continues down these paths, but also complaining about being hungry and neglected and needy and offering to slash people and like attack people if need be.
So an evil Jiminy Cricket.
Chaotic evil. Chaotic neutral Jiminy Cricket.
Chaotic neutral Jiminy Cricket, yeah. And at the same time, one of the reasons it works is that it presents a reason for her to explain herself without her talking her thought bubbles.
Yeah, she has a sounding board.
Yep.
Oh.
So, like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I did not enjoy the plot as much as I enjoyed the plot of Pirate's Honor, because Pirate's Honor had a much more obvious arc.
Well, and you remember how much I talked up the nautical scenes in Pirate's Honor. They were amazing.
So awesome.
Pirate's Promise takes place largely in the desert.
Yeah.
So if you are going into this expecting a lot of swashbuckling and you know, swinging from rafters and whatnot, swinging from the, I don't know, nautical terms, you're not getting that as much. And I definitely would not recommend people pick up this book without having read Pirate's Honor, because the amazing thing about Vrava's scene is that there is so much more to Vrava than we realized after the first one.
This is, like you mentioned, this is incredibly serial. Whereas none of the other Pathfinder novels have been, even the ones that are series, like you said, Dave Gross's Varian Jaguar, Radovan novels are mostly self-contained and can be read out of order. I don't recommend you do that, but you could, and it wouldn't mess up it. This literally takes place the second the first book ends. This picks up immediately after. Like last sentence, last book, next book. That is how tightly these things are to each other. And you would not understand, you would not appreciate these characters without first have reading Pirate's Honor.
Whereas something like Reign of Stars, Tim Pratt's third novel, I didn't even realize it was a sequel to his first novel for Pathfinder Tales until it was pointed out to me that these characters have had an adventure before. The City of the Fallen Sky. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and Liar's Island was announced since we're talking about his novels, just randomly. Yeah.
Overall, yes, these pirate books are continuing to be amazing books. They are just the fact that they're tie-in fiction is not weighed heavily on them, but you can still you definitely feel the Pathfinder influence, but I'm trying to say this without trashing on tie-in fiction because they're just good.
Yeah,
they're fun reads. They've got engaging characters, and actually, Tina's often complaint that anytime I try and recommend a Pathfinder Tale book to her, she's like, "Are there any strong female characters in it?" Because she needs that, and I've had a hard time recommending a lot of them to her because of that.
yeah.
The Pirates books are okay. Pirate's Promise is good, and it's kind of an appropriate name because I could show her Pirate's Honor, tell her Celeste is interesting, and that Vreva will really surprise her by the time she gets to Pirate's Promise. But these are books that I would recommend to her and to anyone else that might have that same complaint about Pathfinder Tales.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because rereading Pirate's Honor, I actually got to a point in there where I was like, ouch, there's actually, I know where he's going with this, but this is kind of uncomfortable from a female empowerment point of view. Like some of the scenes where it's like, where the relationship's not going very well and Celeste is hating on herself and then like you get this like, and slavery and sexual slavery is a constant theme in both books. And so they don't go gratuitous with it, but there are button issues that are talked about in both of these books you should be aware of before getting into it. So if you've got a problem with slavery, with rape, with those sorts of issues, they are engaged in these books, but not gratuitously. There's even mention of underaged sexual slavery in the book.
I don't remember that, but I believe you.
The early chapters, the Vreva's partner talks about it. Yeah, so I mean, it's not done gratuitously, and it is definitely not endorsed. It is condemned, but these are issues that are talked about. So if those are hot button issues, you need to be aware that they are addressed in these novels.
On that note, I'm happy with Pirate's Promise.
Yes, it is great. It's a great book. It's a great follow-up. Like I said, I like the plot of the last one better, but this one's written better.
Better characterization, better characters overall. Character scenes are just well worth it.
Yeah. And when the plot does get along, it's a good plot. But it takes like the first half of the book, you're kind of wondering what's going on here. When are you going to do something? And then it picks up.
They have not shivered my timbers in 10 chapters.
No, they held hands and tail and looked at stars and then coyly lied to each other 500 different ways without actually saying it. Yeah.
Barum, this episode's run extremely long.
Yes, it has.
Time to wrap things up.
It is, right after this.
Oh. Ready to just dive right into it?
Yep, let's just go.
Thank you for joining us for episode 106 of No Direction, the Pathfinder News Reviews and Trees podcast. Before we go, we want to bring our attention, or your attention, to some things that have caught our eye as Pathfinder enthusiasts. First of all, my guess of what the next Syrinscape adventure path is going to be. I'm guessing Skull and Shackles. I think that it's a popular adventure path, but also the fun things they can do with the Foley there. I think that that's the next one it's going to be.
I think it's Iron Gods.
Ooh, lasers.
Same reason.
Okay. Let's see what happens. So we each got our guess, and did Ben say when he was going to announce what the next one would be? I think he said it was coming out at Gen Con.
But no, he doesn't mention when he's going to announce it.
All right. Well, it stands to reason if it's coming out at Gen Con, we're going to hear about it before Gen Con.
This might be a product I review coming up, but I wanted to give a shout out to Campaign Options Feat Reference document that Rogue Genius Games has put together. And what it is every feat from every book that isn't in the PRD. It's literally all it is.
Okay.
In one referenced organized volume.
Cool. And in what format is this coming out?
It is available on DriveThru RPG right now as a PDF for $15. It's a big book, and I actually have the reason that I'm not reviewing it during our Read Magic segment is I'm actually holding out until the pod version's available to pick it up. But there is a print-on-demand option going to be released so that I can get a physical copy of it as well. But I think it's an interesting idea, so that's why I'm shouting it out. I will have a real opinion on it in a Read Magic segment.
Excellent. I'm curious to see how it's organized.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of finickiness to feats, and so having them all together in a way that can be referenced more easily, that would be handy.
Mm-hmm.
My next shout out is to it's a Kickstarter for Apocrypha adventure card game. This is by Lone Shark Games. It's a game by Mike Selinker, and essentially it's the Pathfinder adventure card game with the serial numbers shaved off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got new art. It's a brand new game, except it's going to be extremely familiar to anyone that knows the Pathfinder adventure card game.
Which is funny. I mean, this is almost like, is this what the card game was meant to be in the beginning? Because he said he was doing a horror theme, and then he was like, oh wait, no. Then he shaved the serial numbers off of his horror game to make the Pathfinder.
Possibly. It's just
Possibly.
I know that there are no rules. Like, you cannot copyright a game system. And so this is the exact same game system. We're going to see it again in a different context, and that's kind of fun. So if you enjoy it as a Pathfinder game, but like me, I don't tend to play the card game that much because it's a game you need to commit to get most out of it, and I'd rather commit that time to role playing. That's how I spend my time with Pathfinder. So if I'm going to pick up the adventure card game, I'm actually more likely to pick up Apocrypha than I am to pick up one of the adventure paths that I've already played through. Although I am waiting for Wrath of the Righteous. This is the adventure card game that I may finally pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still going on for a couple more weeks. I just had it, and I just closed it, even though I wasn't done talking about it. 13 days to go. The goal was $66,666.
Oh.
And every pledge level has some amount of 6s or 9s in it. So you can pledge $99. Oh no, 333. There's a lot of just repetition of numbers. And if you watch the Kickstarter video, it's kind of fun because just every now and then, very infrequently, a weird thing happens to Mike.
All right. Speaking of my earlier pre-order of a Kaijira, you're doing something with Kaijiras.
For then I did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are you doing and Dave is doing with
the Dave Gross Trask Invitational? Yes. I believe I announced it last episode that he and I have both ordered a Reaper's Kanjira. And so we've challenged each other, and we invite anyone else to join in to put this thing together by Gen Con. So like I said, I've mostly got it glued together, but now I've got to find a way to stabilize the legs, which, man, so I put this thing together. I glued all the pieces. I know that some people say you should paint before you glue. Some people say just prime before you glue. I decided to go straight to gluing first.
Yeah, don't prime before you glue.
I don't know. Some people. All right.
Yeah, some people are wrong.
All right. Well, that's why I didn't do it that way. I had a little bit of trouble with the tail. The tail had weight issues. The back scales, they all fit in nicely. The head was the one that I had the most issues with. And so I glued it on, and then I just left it leaning against something to have a little more pressure on the head, because that was the one I was most worried about. So when I come back and the legs have fallen off and it fell face first onto its head and the head is still fine, I didn't know what to think. So the legs are gigantic square slots that I feel like I'll just scrape the glue off, glue them back in. And I cannot figure out why it didn't glue the first time, but I am still at the assemble stage. I've got some pictures of the assembling that I'm going to be posting up, because on the No Direction Facebook page, we're going to have a special album of photos where people can just put up their in-progress Kenjiras. I don't know if I've told Dave specifically about this folder, so I'll let him know that as he progresses on his Kenjira, he can also post in that that folder. But it's going to be a public folder, so anyone that has pictures of their in progress Kanjira, post it. Make sure it's clear whose Kanjira it is, and there will be no prize at the end. But we will all just be able to look at all of our Kanjiras, our pseudo Tarrasques, and just be like,
I do have a suggestion on fixing your legs, Ryan.
okay.
Okay. There's you have two choices.
Okay.
Actually, you should do one of them regardless. Did you score your legs?
As in, like, make little lines with the glue to kind of settle into?
Yes.
Speed holes? I did not.
No. Do that, especially with big joints like that, because what happened? Secondly, if you're having a really hard time, use a 2-part epoxy in there, and it will never come loose again.
Okay. Probably worth investing in. I don't think I have any on me at the moment, but I will pick some up.
But choose your 2-part epoxy carefully, because you don't want the ones that are going to melt right through that plastic and then turn your Kanjira into a melted G.I. Joe.
I definitely do not want that. How do I know what a good 2-part epoxy is?
Check the Reaper forums. They will have that. Excellent.
Probably even, do they sell a 2-part epoxy?
I don't know. I don't know if Reaper does. I know GW does. I use GWs.
Okay. If Reaper sells it, I'll just order from them.
All right. And finally, well, not finally. There's one in here that wasn't molded, so I skipped it.
Oh, sorry. Darren Kaldemeyer.
Yes, Darren Kaldemeyer. He has been doing the PaizoCon countdown. He is our PaizoCon countdown correspondent. He has been providing us officially. Where he's been providing us with an image every day, counting down to PaizoCon, and the images are cool. Community use images, copyright, Paizo Publishing. Lots of words. No profit. We can't sell it. Awesome. Our real page has that disclaimer, guys. Go look at that. But he's doing it every day. It's cool. Check it out on our Facebook page at facebook.com/nodirection.
PaizoCon.
PaizoCon
2015, which is 23 days away. Oh, Darren actually recorded a 23 days away soundbite that it was short and it was funny, and he just introduces himself as Darren Kaldemeyer, No Direction's official Pathfinder, PaizoCon countdown correspondent. There are 23 days. This has been Darren Kaldemeyer. Like, it's so much introduction, so much outro, such little content. It's great, but we cannot figure out, or actually earlier you figured out how to get Syrinscape to play on there. So unfortunately, we almost were able to get it on there, Darren, but it did not work out. So thank you for having the picture-based countdown, because unfortunately, and this is my fault for not getting on top of this earlier, the audio-based one did not work out.
Sorry, Darren.
But PaizoCon is officially 23 days away as of this recording, and I just want to bring attention to a couple of things on the PaizoCon schedule. One is that Friday at 11 o'clock, from 11 till 12, I'll be sitting in with Robert Kenzie on the Alignment, Bringing Order to Chaos panel. He and I are going to be discussing alignment. He wrote the very last book on alignment, and that's surprisingly an accurate title. He actually goes very in-depth on different mechanics and philosophies of alignment, and it's a really cool book, and we reviewed it a while ago, but I recommend it again. So we're going to be just talking for an hour on alignment, one of the most controversial parts of the Pathfinder role-playing game. If you have strong opinions, come argue with us, listen to what we have to say, and maybe agree with us. Maybe we'll change your mind. Who knows? I will also be running with Alex Agunas 1 o'clock on Saturday, the No Direction podcast live. Hopefully we'll find a way to pipe you in, Param, and so you'll be able to join us via satellite or Google Hangout.
Right. Or Skype.
So the plan right now, and I'm going to start finalizing guests, is that we are going to have about 10-minute segments with a variety of people that you've probably heard of or heard from us in the past, but it's been a long time. It's not going to be Paizo people. It'll be more third-party people, community people, people that are doing cool things for Paizo or cool things for Pathfinder, and just a marathon of getting their word out there, letting you know what cool thing it is and why they are doing it. So PaizoCon 2015 is going to be May 22nd to 25th, 2015. at the DoubleTree by Hilton Hotel Seattle Airport, which Majuba has told me is not the one that's right down the street from the previous hotel, but it's still fairly close to the airport. And shoot, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up about PaizoCon. Aaron, do you have any idea? What was I thinking?
Nope.
Me neither. Oh, that we have one more episode before PaizoCon. It's going to be in 2 weeks. We're going to have Mark Seifter on the show talking about rules Q&As and just everything about being on the role-playing game as he has been for the last year. He's been a designer almost a year to the day of the podcast we're going to have him on. Mm-hmm. So that will be our pre-PaizoCon episode, and we're going to be talking to Mark, the latest Pathfinder designer. Yeah, he is still the newest guy to the team.
Mm-hmm. And after that, we will have our usual post-PaizoCon episode with no guest.
Indeed. That'll be May 27th. So Mark will be on the 13th. Post-PaizoCon will be May 27th. We'll just be talking about all the cool news that we hear about at PaizoCon. Mm-hmm. Until next time, I'm Ryan Costello.
And I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Parham.
If you want to find the path, you need no direction.